Hi there, my name is Dan Scott, and this is the Figma Essentials Course. Together, you and me are going to learn everything you need to know to get started as a UX designer inside of Figma. During the course, you'll learn how to master all of the tools in Figma. I'll also share all of the UX design fundamentals to create beautiful user interfaces and engaging prototypes easily in Figma. Who's he? I'm Dan Scott. I've been a designer now for more than 25 years. I've won multiple teaching awards, and my online courses have been attended by more than 1 million people now, just like you. First, we'll give you your own unique brief and show you how to work with a UX persona. You'll learn how to create simple wireframes. From there, you'll learn how to implement colors and images properly in your designs. You'll learn the do's and don'ts for choosing fonts for web and mobile apps. You'll learn how to create your own icons, buttons, and all sorts of UI components using Figma's draw features. You'll learn the scary terms like components, constraints, and variants. They're all real easy once you know how. We'll also make our lives easier by using free UI kits and plugins for Figma to speed up our workflow. You'll also learn how to use some of Figma's handy new AI features. We'll build a simple style guide ready for client handoff. You'll learn how to make micro interactions and animations, all the way through to collaborating with other team members, an overview of Figma sites so you can build the site yourself, and exporting all the right files ready for handoff to a developer or software engineer. You've got assignments throughout the course that I set so that you can practice what you're learning and have something unique for your portfolio at the end. Now, this course is aimed at people new to design, new to UX design, user experience design. Even if you're not really sure what UX design is, don't worry, we're gonna start right at the beginning and work our way through step by step. All right, my friend, it is time. Sign up and join me and go from Figma Zero to Figma Hero. Does he design his own shirt? He did. I'm so proud of this one. That's cool. I kind of turned it on the side and made it drippy. Except the gold won't iron. Every other bit, ironed nicely. This bit drives me mad. Why won't you iron gold? Why? Hello, you're in, you made it. Good work. Hey, first things first is you need to download the exercise files. There'll be a link on the page here somewhere. Download those, the files you'll need for this course. Also in those exercise files will be a shortcut sheet. Okay, we won't go too deep in the shortcuts for this one. We will, but there are some ones that are just really natural and useful to use. So I've made a sheet you can print off, stick next to your computer, and kind of like circle the ones that you use a lot. The other thing is there is a free and a paid version of Figma. I'll start the course kind of using a lot of the free features, and we will bump into some paid features as we go along. So if you only plan to use the free version, that's totally fine. You can get really far in Figma. You know, you can be quite a competent UX designer in Figma using the free version, and but I won't hide from the paid versions as well, because there are some really cool things in there to do as well. So even if you don't do the paid version, it's good to see what the paid features are and how to use them. The other thing is there is a desktop version and a browser-based version. I'm going to use the desktop version. They're exactly the same. One you can download and have on your computer. One you can just use in your Chrome browser. There's no difference between the two. Use either. I'm going to use the browser version because I'm old and I like things being on my desktop for no good reason. So there you go. The other thing is that I can speak very fast, especially at the beginning of a course and I've just had a coffee. I may be speak too fast for some people, especially if maybe English is your second language. The other thing is some people think I talk too slowly, and you can speed me up. There's a cog, where is it? I think it's over here. Click on it, you'll find a speed. You can speed me up or slow me down as it suits you. The other thing is that Figma is really good at updating stuff. They're like, make it better, let's change it, let's make it more clearer. The problem for me though is, as a course creator, they go and change things and make them better. And it can be tricky. If it's a big change, I'll just re-record the video and you won't know. If it's a tiny change, just check the comments. There might be a note down there of like, it used to be called this and now it's called that. Okay, but it's in the same place and it looks the same and does the same thing. So just keep an eye on that through the course. The other thing is that who's excited to get started? I am. I love making this course. I'm excited to get started. Let me know in the comments if you are too. I love checking those out after I make a course of like, who's pumped to get started? All right, get on with the course, Dan. Okay, let's go. All right, in this video, we're going to talk about what Figma is and what Figma isn't. So Figma it's actually become many things. What it's mainly used for is UI, UX work. So basically, when you boil it down, you're making or you're designing a website or an app. So a client comes to me and says, Dan, I need you to design us a new website. You'd open up Figma and design it in there, and then you'd afterwards get it developed into an actual website. So Figma is the look and feel of a website and is a quick way of kind of designing it up to get client sign off. Why do we bother like designing it in Figma and then go and build it afterwards? It's mainly about speed. It's about rapid prototyping. That's what kind of like the key term is for Figma and kind of alternatives to Figma. Rapid prototyping. So if the client comes to me and says, I want all these features, I want it to do these things, you can quickly design it, give it to the client. You can prototype it so it looks like a website and functions like one. The buttons click, you go everywhere. We'll do that in the course. It's called prototyping. So you can get it to be really competent looking website. So the client can come back and say, oh, it's not what I want, or that doesn't work. Or more importantly, you can test it with that client's customers and they can use this kind of prototype. Okay, it's not a fully fledged website, but it looks and feels like one, and they can get lost and you can fix that. Okay, that iteration is what makes us a UX designer and also what makes Figma so powerful. I can say, all right, here client, here's your project. And they say, no, I can go back and make quick changes, not go back to the developer and rebuild this huge big code base that we made. Okay, just drag something around in Figma, super quick and easy, rapid prototyping, and then go back to the client or their customer and say, what do you think now? Okay, and watch them use it and realize they still get lost. So you change things, change the language, move the sizing around, adjust things really quickly so that you can get to a point where everyone's signed off on it. The client's like, yep, love this thing. Then you can work with a developer, okay, to get this thing built. Or work with one of the other Figma features called Figma Sites or WordPress or what else we got? There's other ones in my head. Webflow, there's more, okay? Elementor, there's lots of ways to go and build it afterwards, okay? So we're gonna focus on the design side of here, the kind of UX design process, okay? And build sites that look and feel like they work. You just need to know that it's not just like, and they're made at the end, okay? That is the kind of process. And why do we do it? Because it's fast and it's way cheaper than getting you to design it or spend the time making this fully functioning website for only to have lots of changes. So that's where Figma fits in. That's what it does really well, rapid prototyping. Now, what else Figma does really well is that it's kind of creeping into the general design space. So Figma was born to make websites and apps, okay, rapid prototyping, but now people have they've excelled the tools, okay, and people have started using it for just general design stuff. So Figma, the tools you're gonna learn in this class, we're gonna base it around web design and app design, but we're gonna learn the tools so that you could use it as a general design tool as well, and people are using it for that. So they call it Figma Draw, but it's kind of just baked into this course. It's the drawing tools along with it, so you will find yourself like, oh, why can't I just design this flyer in here? Or this social media ad. You totally can using the skills from this course. We're gonna focus on UI, UX, but you can use it for all of that. Some of the other things that Figma does that aren't covered in this course, so they've got some other kind of like other tools. There's one called FigJam, okay, which is, kind of a separate product. It's like a whiteboarding tool, like Mirror, okay, kind of like ideas and brainstorming. They have Figma Buzz, which is a specific social media design tool. That's a kind of alternative for Canva or Adobe Create. They've got Figma Sites, okay, where you can take your Figma file, okay, that we're making in this, the design of it, and actually turn it into a website. Okay, so Figma Sites it's outside of the scope of this course. We'll cover it a little bit in the end, okay, because it's quite cool and the kind of next step in your process. But that would be an alternative for something like Webflow or WordPress, okay? Often though, I'm building stuff in Figma, okay, and then giving it to the developer to build in a different kind of code base, okay? But if you're building it yourself, you could use Figma Sites. They have Figma Slides, which is basically a PowerPoint alternative. What else do they have? Figma Buzz, social media. Let me check my notes, wait there. There we go. Figma Make is their kind of beta version of AI coding. You can kind of talk to it to code your site. That's pretty cool. Outside of the scope of this course, we're going to focus on what they call Figma, and that's the kind of general use for it, and they call it Figma Design. So we're going to do it, focus on UI, UX design, but know that the tools you're going to learn are, you can use for general design purposes as well, kind of an alternative to less Photoshop, more Adobe Illustrator if you know that software. All right, so that's what it does. I burbled along a little bit. I hope that's helpful though, because there's lots of different facets to Figma. We're going to focus on UI, UX design, and it's called Figma Design. Next video. All right, let's talk about the difference between UI and UX. So the differences are UI, user interface, UX, user experience. UI is the pixels on the page, like the fonts you pick, the images, the colors, the spacing, you're kind of making it look good. Okay, you were a UI designer, and that's how I kind of started in this field. It is, client would come to me and said, I want a website. I designed it, it looked cool, he liked it, we sent it. Okay, I was a UI designer. Where I became a UX designer is the client come to me with a problem. Let's say it's we need to update the checkout on our page. We want to make it better. Okay, so instead of just designing something that I thought would be better, okay, I would design something. I'd have a good idea and a hypothesis on what could be done, okay, and then I'd go and test it. Okay, so I'd test it with a couple of people and see, do they find it easier? Do they find it more trustworthy? Okay, we run little in-person tests, or you can do it online, or let's say bring your own laptop. We run a lot of A/B tests where we say, all right, we always are looking at the checkout flow updates. And we do A/B tests where half of the people coming to the website go to the old one and half of it go to this new one. And I'm like, all right, is it better? Do we have better conversions, less conversions? Why? Can we change this thing? Did it make it better? We're starting to get into the UX field, okay, where we are testing our ideas, iterating quickly. That makes us a UX designer. If you've ever used a website when you bumped into something frustrating, that is UX design problems, okay? And that's something that you're gonna take notice of a lot more now, and you should, okay? So let's say like I use my banking website via my computer here. I'm not sure why I'm faking typing, but one of the tiny frustrations is every time I go to this thing, they've updated it, and now when I type in my password and hit enter, it doesn't do anything. You gotta grab your mouse and go and click the kind of submit button. You're like, it's so easy to go in and adjust that. And if they'd done some testing on that, okay, they would see that people got frustrated and stopped there, and it would have been an easy fix, okay? It would have made the whole user experience a whole lot more user experienceable. It's not a word. But you get the idea. UI, pixels on the page, the way it looks. UX is how people interact with your project. And that's what we're gonna do in this course. We're gonna look at both UI, and I'll give you some tips on how UX is done and prototyping throughout the course. We're gonna kind of focus on the Figma tools, but I'll try and smoosh in there some UX best practices to get you started as well. All right, what are we making in this course? We're gonna make this. It is a website for a particular e-commerce brand, okay? Everyone's gonna get their own one. The one that I use through this course is for wallets, okay? And let's give it a quick demo. All right, our little subscribe newsletter appears. Okay, we can go to, let's learn more about it. Okay, we make a kind of a home page, a features page. We go to purchase page. Okay, people can tick things, add stuff, and then you get a confirmation page. And a toggle switch that currently does nothing. We'll make both a desktop and a mobile version of our site. The mobile nav, okay. We will also do wireframes, okay. So we'll end up in this kind of more high fidelity version, this kind of like full version, but we'll also build out wireframes to start, connect it all up so it goes places and we can do testing. We'll make sure everything is responsive so that it can adjust for different screen sizes. We'll build out a basic style guide with styles and our various different components for navigation and buttons. It's all sorts of fun. So why are we building this? We are going to work with this. Okay, so we're going to start with a brief that has what we're doing and a persona, and we're going to build out this thing called a task flow. So basically, let's talk about this. In the next video, everyone's going to get their very own unique brief. So we're all building something slightly different. You'll get given a product, okay, and you get given a short persona. A persona is just a brief description of who the client is, because if we make something for everyone, it just gets a bit plain and it's not really good for any particular person. Okay, so we are going to identify who we're building this for. In this case, I'm building it for Sam. I know their age, I know basic information about them, so that when we're making decisions throughout our design process, is we're using the user, okay, their persona, to make decisions rather than building something that Dan wants. Because if it's not for me, I shouldn't be the one kind of deciding, oh, this is cool, I think it should work this way. I need to separate myself and think, what would Sam want? Everyone will get one slightly different. So Sam is keen on fashion and latest trends, so I'm going to use that in my head. Whereas you might get somebody who's very eco-friendly, okay, or eco-conscious. That's going to really change the design, and that's the target audience. So we need to be building it for them, not for you, not for the client or your customer, okay, for Sam. Now we'll cover just a little bits of UX design process. We're mainly handling the software, but I'll introduce it throughout the course just so that you get a basic understanding of the UX design process. But after this video or after this course, check out personas, okay, a bit more. Okay, read up about them. This is a real bare bones one. And now that we know what our persona is, we're going to work on this task flow. We're all going to be building the same one. We're going to build a home page, a features page, a checkout page, and a payment confirmation page. This is called a task flow. It's a very specific task to do on a website. Often you get given a job for an existing site that's not a full redesign. It's like, all right, I want you to update the sign up flow or the cancellation flow, or it might be how to upload a document. Okay, you'll be working on a specific task flow. It's probably important now to talk about the difference between a task flow and, let's say, a user flow. I found a good example here. This is more of a user flow. Task flow, very linear. In this user flow, there's lots of different ways, lots of decisions of getting to this last part here, and you've got to kind of account for all of them. So a much bigger job than what we're doing in this course. Let's say a good user flow for the Bring Your Own Laptop website. It might be that somebody arrives on the homepage, they sign up, and to do a course, they might get to it via the search option. They might be searchy people. They might be in the browse people. They might have come through an ad that goes directly to the kind of overview page. There's all these different ways of getting to doing a video course. And as a UX designer doing a user flow, those are all the considerations I need to do. Bigger job. We are doing something nice and simple, just a task flow. All right, so in the next video, I'll give you your unique brief. We'll use this task flow. We'll build a wireframe version of it. We'll test it. We'll then build a high fidelity version of it. We'll also build out a desktop version. We'll design it. We'll make it interactive, all the while learning all the essentials for Figma, but also we'll bake in some of that UX design process. All right, you ready? I'm ready. All right, let's get going. All right, it is homework time. Did he say homework? I meant practice by learning. Okay, so we're going to set tasks throughout the course just so that you're not just following along blindly, that you get to make something. And the cool thing about it is that you get to make something unique for you. We're going to use this thing called the randomprojectgenerator.com to generate a unique brief, but we're all going to follow the same task flow. So we're all going to be doing this. We're all going to be making a homepage for a product, the product features. Okay, there's going to be a checkout and a confirmation page. So we're doing the same task flow. But if we use the random project generator, we all get to make something slightly different that we can use that's unique for our portfolio. So open up the class projects doc. It should be in your exercise files. There it is there. Okay, and yours will be a lot more filled up than mine. So we're up to this one here, project 01. So visit randomprojectgenerator.com. Okay, and click on the UI UX button. So let's do that. Okay, this is a tool me and the team here made, and you can click on UI UX. Okay, and you can enter a name. Doesn't matter what it is. Okay, your last name, friend's name, pet's name, kid's name, granny's name, whatever you'd like. Okay, and then a location. Okay, so I live in Limerick, and I'm going to hit generate my project. All right, and you will be generated your own persona. Okay, they will be very similar. The difference will be the product. Okay, it randomly generates it and the name that you use, but everything else will be structurally the same. So we're kind of designing the same thing, but with a bit of uniqueness. If you don't like what you got, don't hit retry. It's red for a reason. I'm warning you. Okay, so I'm doing Scott Wallets. My customer is Sam. And it tells me a little bit about them. What we can do is download it as a PNG. So you've got it, so you can go back to it. Just download it for your machine. Keep it somewhere safe. We're going to use it throughout the course. And we'll use it kind of towards the end as well when we're combining it to make a more of a portfolio piece. All right, so that's how class projects work. I tell you what to do, and sometimes I'll ask you to upload it to the site when we've got something a little bit more interesting to share. But for the moment, just save your brief somewhere. Keep it in your mind when we're designing throughout this course. All right, that's it. Next video time. All right, let's talk about wireframe versus high fidelity. Ooh, it's pretty easy. Wireframes are wireframes and high fidelity are these complete looking websites. So what we're going to do in this course is we're going to create the wireframe first, test it, and then build out some more of the design feature for this high fidelity. So it's normally called a wireframe. Some people call it LoFi and HiFi, or wireframe and high fidelity. My advice is not to skip this step. My advice is not to skip the wireframing step. Somebody comes to you with a project or a brief, you can get a wireframe going and test it, like the buttons working and the navigation kind of doing some basic stuff in minutes. You can go back to your stakeholder, boss, client and say, is this what we're trying to do? And they can say, yeah, and you can move on. Rather than spending ages, kerning and tracking and picking images and getting it right for them to go, that's not what I meant. It's quick, it's dirty, it's easy. And you're going to have to do it for this course because we're going to build this first. And it's going to give us a lot of the fundamental features of Figma before we move on and make pretty stuff. Now, wireframes don't have to look like this. There's no real rule on what they can do. Normally people put a line through it for an image, but it's kind of it. Let's go find some examples on Figma. So I'm in Figma. I'm going to go to this home button up the top here. Okay. And I'm going to go to this one that says templates and tools. They keep moving this button around, but have a look. It used to be called community. Okay. And I'm going to type in the top right here. I'm going to type in wireframe. Let's have a look at a couple of examples. So you can just borrow somebody else's kit. Let's have a look at this one. Click on it once, okay, and it's going to see this one here has gone even further back, as in they've stripped out the text of this one. You can do that as well. What you'll notice though, that they are monochromatic. Some people use one color, but no more than one. Pick an inoffensive color, or just use black and white and versions of gray, and pick a very unoffensive font. We're looking for boring stuff here because what we don't want to do, let's have a look at this one here. This is a good one as well, okay? It's a lot more, let's say, complete. It's a bit fancier. Again, there's no real rules. You can pick one that has a little bit more design taste into it. What you want to avoid is having conversations with your customer, client, stakeholder about like, oh, that's not our font. Oh, that's the wrong image. Oh, we don't say that anymore in our headline. What you're doing here is just testing function. Okay, when I click this button, it goes to here and then this goes to here. Am I building all the right pages? Yes, awesome. Then we can go to high fidelity. Okay, so keep it boring, keep it functional. We'll cover using other people's templates later on, but if you have stumbled into here, remember home, templates and tools. I've done a search up here and you can open them up. Let's go open this one here and it just says open in Figma. And the cool thing about it is now I have this file. Okay, it's open up in another tab. I can go back to home here, but if I go to recents, it's now just my file. Figma is this great community where people share their files and you can borrow them, appropriate them, steal them. Of course, we don't just want to duplicate it and kind of pass it out as our own, but if you like the styling of some of these, okay, from the templates, you can go through and start nabbing them. Okay, they're all selectable. You can start working with them, but that's jumping ahead in the class a little bit. So I'm going to close down this tab. I go back to templates and I've deleted the wireframe from here just to show you high fidelity. It's not that fancy. Okay, it's just ready-made websites. This one here, I could open up and start working with. Okay, this one looks like for a law firm. Okay, and they've done a lot of the hard work. I might be doing a job for an accountant or a lawyer as well. And I like this. I can start with this. Okay, and start changing it out for my own fonts, my own images, but I kind of like the structure. This is high fidelity, skipping the wireframing stage. Bad. All right, so that is it. Let's jump into the course and start making stuff. All right, that is it. That is wireframing versus high fidelity in Figma. Let's get on to the next course. Start making stuff, Dan. Hello. Hey, just wanted to check on you. How are you doing? How are you enjoying the course? If you're liking it, you're liking it, give it a thumbs up. Give it a like and subscribe to the channel. I have a lot of this kind of long form format stuff here on YouTube, so subscribe to the channel to check more of that out. Also, if you're like, oh man, this course is really good, I wish there was more. There is more. This is like the first 25% of my larger course called Figma Essentials. There'll be a link for that in the description. Okay, we carry on where this video leaves off. We carry on in the course, you can pick it straight up. There is class projects, there's teaching assistants to help, there's a certificate. Okay, so if you do want to go further with your UX career or Figma, check out the course, link in the description. Carry on with the video. Hi there, in this video we are going to make our very first design file, and then we're going to start adding pages which are called frames. We'll do some basic navigation and we'll super excitingly make 4 white boxes. Can you see those on the screen? Anyway, this is going to be our mobile phone layout for our project. Let's jump in. All right, so I've opened up Figma. I've got a kind of a fresh copy here. So what we want to do is, this screen changes quite a lot. Every time I make a course, this screen is different. Basically the same. What you're looking for is this little home icon. Okay, they kind of move that around a little bit as well, but it should be in the top left-hand corner. And then we're looking to create what's called a design file. Remember, this course is about Figma design. This first one here. Whoa, my mouse is on slow motion. All right, wait there. All right, my mouse is back. So there is a design button. You can click on that. But in Figma, there's about 10 ways of getting everywhere. I'm going to try and give you like the consistent best way, or the best way for our level. If you do discover another way, good work. If you like that way better, do that way. Just for instance, you can click on the design file. You can click on this plus button, then click on the design file. You can go to drafts and hit plus and get a design file. There's lots of ways of getting a design file. All right, so let's create one. Bam. Basically it opens up in a new tab here. See, home, the untitled file that we've got open. Home, untitled file. You can work from templates to get started. We're not going to. Okay, you can hover above them and it just shows you them. That's just kind of like getting started. We're gonna utilize templates later on when we get better. Okay, but we need to kind of start from scratch. So let's close all this down and we get this boring thing. All right, let's go and create a page. You do it using this button down the bottom here. Okay, it is called frames. Frames are like pages or artboards if you're from Adobe land. Okay, click on this. Okay, little icon down the bottom here. Click and draw out something. You now have a page. Your little cursor defaults to the selection tool after you've drawn it. So if you want another page, you're going to go back to the frame tool, draw another one. Goes back to the selection tool. That's actually quite handy. Now we want a specific size because we want our phone size that we're going to do our mock-up for. So what we can do is delete these by just clicking the name at the top. Can you see if I click the name at the top, kind of highlights the whole thing, and I can hit delete on my keyboard. So I want to get rid of that guy as well. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my frame tool. And what you'll notice is on this right hand side here, you have to be on design, okay, which it should be. This frame can have a bunch of preset sizes. Okay, so either phone, tablet, desktop. Let's do phone, and let's use whatever the most common size is for the current time. So iPhone 16 is kind of I don't know, they're all roughly the same, and you're not expected to design for all the different phone sizes. You might be expected to do phone, tablet, and desktop if you're doing, say, a website. If it's an app, you're obviously only going to do one size, okay, the phone. So we're going to start with iPhone 16. If you're watching this in the future and there's iPhone 500, just Google what the common phone size is, most usage. Google will tell you kind of what the most of the world has, or you can figure out what your boss, client, stakeholder has as a phone, because they'll be testing it. You want to impress them the most, so you want to kind of use their size. So I'm going to use iPhone 16. If we're doing it for social media or something, you need it to be a specific size. Can you see if I have the name selected at the top, so off, selected, over here on the right hand side, you can type in whatever size. If it needs to be 500 by 800, okay, you can do that. I don't want that, so I'm going to use the undo. On a Mac, it is Command Z, Control Z on a PC to get it back to the normal kind of iPhone size. It is under Edit as well and Undo. Or if you're in the browser version, you'll have a little bar up the top here where you can go to Edit, Undo as well. You'll work it out. Now, I said we're not going to do too many shortcuts, but there's some just unavoidable ones. The other way is super long. So the short way, okay, the shortcut is I want to zoom in and out. Okay, so hold Command key down and hit plus on my keyboard. Okay, and minus comes out again. So hold Command on a Mac, Control on a PC, and zoom in and out. Okay, you can use this over here. There's a little manual drop down, but you'll go mad trying to use this thing here. Zoom out, go back up, zoom out. Okay, so Command or Control plus and minus. All right, so we've got this document and it's called iPhone 6-1. That's not fun. Okay, so we can rename it by just double clicking it over here and calling this one homepage. Okay, and hit enter on your keyboard. Some people prefer to go to over here on the left hand side here. Make sure you're under File, not Assets. We'll do that later on. Go to File and you'll see down here under your layers, you can just double click it over here as well. Okay, up to you. I want 2 of these. I can go back to my frame tool and say, I want another iPhone 16, and it will dump it next to it. Let's call this one, what is this one? Our features. And another way you can do it is you can select the word features and just go copy paste. So Command C, Command V on a Mac, Control C, Control V on a PC. The kind of standard copy and paste. No, thank you. Now the other shortcut I want to show you is hold down spacebar. We're only like one video into making stuff and already doing the shortcuts, Dan. Just the real key ones. Okay, you hold down the spacebar key and you'll see your cursor changes into a hand. You click, hold, and drag it around. So hold spacebar down, click, hold, drag, Now we've got these three. All right, now depending on the job, you might be expected to do both a phone and a tablet and a desktop version. What you can do is, let's zoom out a little bit. So Command minus or Control minus on a PC. Let's click on features, copy and paste it. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click and hold, and I can drag these guys around, okay? These frames, I can drag them around to say, I want this one down here. Okay, you drag the name. If you drag the edges, you can kind of manually change the size of your frame. I'm gonna undo that. And over here, I can say this frame here, I want you to be not just a frame, but I want you to be not Android 16. I want you to be, what are we gonna do? An iPad Pro 11. Okay, you can see the frame got a whole lot bigger. Spacebar, hold it down, click and drag. With it selected, you can decide, you see this rotate here, you can decide if it's landscape or portrait. Just double click it, call it home page. Okay, same thing again, copy and paste. Okay, and we can put in features. Forgot about this one. So this one's called checkout. Okay, and I'm gonna copy and paste it, double click. This one's gonna be called confirmation. So you can do that for mobile, for tablet, same for desktop. Okay, let's grab both of these. Okay, I just clicked and dragged a box around them both and went copy paste. I think they've ended up on top of each other. They did. Okay, so here we go down here. Okay, and this one here is going to be frame. I want it to be the desktop size, and desktop is, you can see there's a bunch of stuff. You can do the Apple Watch, you can do some paper-based sizes. Okay, Twitter posts, oh, they're all in here. I'm looking for, scroll. I've gone past it, haven't I? There it is, desktop. That's a super common desktop size and what most people use for designing a website, even though there are lots of different, sizes online. I could drag that over there. You get the idea. What I tend to do is design for something first. Okay, so we're gonna design for mobile first for this wireframe, then we'll design for desktop first. When we are working for our website. So that's a kind of a conversation to have with your client. They might want to see both, but let's say bringyourownlaptop.com, my site. We're a desktop first company because most people are coming, like watching the videos and interacting with software. They're on their computer. So we design for that first and then work out how it fits into mobile. A lot of sites now will be mobile first. They'll be designing for mobile first and then kind of coming up with a desktop version afterwards. You can design them concurrently. Often what I do is design one of them, the most important one, then work out the other sizes in between. All right, what I'm gonna do is zoom out far enough so I can see everything. Remember, Command minus or Control minus on a PC, and I'm just gonna drag a box around all of these guys because I'm just gonna work on mobile first. I'm just gonna click delete, so they're gone. If you do get lost, sometimes you can zoom in by accident or you've hit your scroll wheel and you zoom in, you're like, where the heck am I? Okay, you could use these little scrub bars here. Hello, okay, these little guys here and try and figure your way out. Often it's easy just to go up here and say, can you zoom to fit? And it will just kind of fit everything that you've got into the middle of the screen. All right, so let's name our document. Like some bits of software will ask you to name, the file as soon as you create it. Figma's like that. So you end up with like a million untitled files. No, that's common. But we're gonna be super awesome and we are going to rename our file. So I've double clicked up here. I'm gonna give it a name. We're gonna call ours Scott. You call yours your name. Okay, so you're not doing Scott Ecom. Okay, you're doing, I don't know, Sandy or Jim, whatever your name is for your company. And this is our ecom site and we're gonna go V1 because we're not cavemen. Don't be that person. Final. One. New. You're laughing because you do it. Okay, let's go. It doesn't really matter if it's V1 or A, B, C, just something. So when we do have to update old files, yeah, it's easier to find. There is a fancy way of versioning inside of Figma, but that's going to work for us now. You can double click it over here as well. Okay, and you can close it by going to File Close or just hitting this little cross in the corner and it's gone. You're back to your home. And what you'll find is it defaults to recents most of the time. If it's not, go to recents and you'll see there he is there. Look, ecom. Double click it, open it up in a new tab. Let's go back to home, and what you'll find is when you have loads of files that are called untitled, you can right click them in here. On a Mac, if you don't have a right click on your mouse, you can hit Control on your keyboard and hit click. PC people, you'll have a right click. I do on my Mac as well. Okay, but you can right click and you can rename them in here. Okay, it doesn't really matter where you do it. And these things here, these are a pain in the butt. I'm just gonna select them. Okay, I just dragged a box around them and hit delete. Okay, these are kind of like getting used to Figma files. I just find they make my life look messy. I'm like, did I make those? Where did those come from? You can leave them in here, okay? Or you can right click them and go to, move to trash. Yes. Grab these two as well. I'm gonna delete it just to tidy things up. All right, let's go back into it, either by double clicking this or the tab's already open. And that's it. We've drawn 4 white boxes. Good work. We all thought Figma would be more exciting. But we've learned what frames are, kind of like pages, and we worked out what a Figma design file is. It's the kind of thing that houses it all. All right, let's go and make some more stuff in the next video. I'll see you there. Hi there, in this video we're going to cover some of the basics of type. We're not going to go through every single setting in the type menu, but just the basics to get us going. You know how to change fonts and font sizes, right? I'll just show you the quirks of Figma. All right, let's go and add some type to our page. All right, so let's start. Spacebar to kind of move over, Command or Control plus to zoom in, spacebar again. I'm going to grab the type tool. Okay, it's down here in the bottom, capital T. Click on that. You'll notice that they're really common tools. Okay, if you hover above them, can you see it has a capital C next to it? Means I can jump to the comments tool by hitting C, T for the type tool, F for the frame tool. So the really common ones, just hover above them and you'll see it'll tell you the shortcut. So we want T for the type tool. There's two kinds of type boxes. There's one where you click once and start typing. And this one will go on forever and ever. Okay, so you click once, you get a type box, good for headings, okay, or buttons, just little parts of text, and the type box just keeps on going. This one here, it is called an auto width box. I knew that name. Okay, the other type of type box is I'm going to click in the background, okay, and then go to my T key. If you've got your cursor flashing in here and you hit the T shortcut, you just get T's. Okay, so I'm going to click off in the background, then hit my T key, and I'm going to click, hold, and drag out a box. This is called a fixed size box. I want it to be exactly this width. The difference with this one is when I start typing, okay, you can see it breaks on the end of the line. Okay, so better for body copy, anything that needs a line break. You can convert them afterwards. I can click in this one here and say, actually, you're now a fixed size. Okay, and I can grab the point. I'm going to click off in the background. Let's go the whole way. I'm going to click again. If I click it once, okay, I can grab the edge here, and now it's a fixed width, right? Same with this one here. Okay, I haven't got the text selected. What does that work anyway? It does. Doesn't really matter how you have it selected. Okay, I want this to be an auto width, so kind of more like a heading or a button or some sort of small part of text. You can convert them afterwards. We'll cover auto height later in the class. So those are our two text boxes. I'm going to undo to get rid of these. So on a Mac, it's Command Z. On a PC, it's Control Z. Or on my desktop version, it's Edit Undo. If you're on the browser version, you'll have another edit. It'll be kind of just underneath here. Okay, you can go to Edit, Undo, same thing. So I'm going to go undo a few times. So many undos. All right, let's hit the T key and put in our logo for the brand. Now, if you've got a logo for the company you're working for and it exists, you can use the logo. But because we're kind of at the same time developing a brand for this app at the same time, we're going to use just plain text. We're not going to get into logo design just yet. So mine's going to be called, I'm going to use caps. I'm going to go Scott or come on caps. Okay, so we're going to keep it plain. To move it around, I'm going to click off in the background. Okay, use my selection tool. I'm just going to move it up here. Next, we want our marketing message here. So I'm going to grab the type tool, click and drag out. And remember, clicking and dragging gives us a fixed width box. We're just going to type in marketing message. Marketing message goes here. Okay, I won't bore you with going through all the font stuff. You know how to change fonts. Okay, but the trick, let's just change the font size, something nice and big. I want to get it so it breaks on two lines so that we can look at auto height. Okay, by default, it's trying to do it automatically. You can type in something. So it's 24. It's really common to add another 8 to it or another 4. Let's go 28. Genius, Dan. Let's go to, what's 8? 32. Okay, and what you can do is, see these little icons here? I end up doing it quite a lot in this course. I'll show you now is, see if you hover above this icon, okay, you can click, hold, and drag it. Okay, so if you're more of a like tongue out looking at it going, oh, is that the right size? Maybe some letter spacing. Oh, yep. Okay, rather than trying to type it in and do math stuff. Okay, you can drag on one of these like icons. There you go. Back to 32. So in terms of fonts, when you are doing a wireframe, like when you're doing the high fidelity, of course, spend a lot of time picking fonts. When you are doing a wireframe, it's best to leave it as a super duper boring font. Okay, something that's not going to offend anybody, because what you want to do is when you're doing a test with somebody, especially with stakeholders, when they might have an opinion on the font, and that's not what you're doing for a first test. You're building a mock-up to test the like mechanics of this thing. Can they click the buttons? Do they get to where they need to go? What you don't want to come back and say, hey, I don't like that font. Okay, so stick to fonts that are plain, things that have, I don't know, characters that have no character, like Roboto. Sorry, Roboto. Or the default one that comes, the Enter is the default one for Figma, so people use that a lot. Roboto's good. Source Sans, whatever font you want, as long as it's, I don't know, boring fonts. Plus, like Roboto, I like it because it is boring. Sorry, Roboto. But it has all these other weights here. I've got a bold and an italics and all sorts of other good stuff to go with it. So keep your fonts simple. The other thing is when you are picking fonts, it's best to do it on the actual device. I'll show you later on how to preview on your phone. When I'm working on my computer, I end up spending ages like playing around with letter spacing and tracking and line spacing, and it's just too big. So what you can do just as a hack is to zoom out until your phone kind of feels like the right size. Literally what I'm doing now is I'm picking up my phone and going, it's a bit small, 100's too big, so maybe up here I can type in, maybe 75 is good. Holding up phone, still too big. You'll be able to work out what it is on your phone to kind of give you that, like, you see how this is tiny now? You're like, oh, okay, that's too small. But if I hold my phone up, it's kind of the right size for the phone. All right, so I'm gonna go a little bit bigger on this. The other trick with any of these fields in here is, look, I got 12. These numbers are pretty good for jumping between stuff, but what you can do is just click in 12, okay, and just use your up arrow. Doop, 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 doop. Can you see it just goes up in increments of 1? If you hold shift and press up, it goes in increments of 10. See, we're at 38, it goes up to 48. But if I just use my arrow key, just gotta have it clicked in there, that works. Up and down, and then I find this is kind of like about sort of there, it looks fine. This one here now needs to be bigger. Click in here, up, hold shift, go up, and you can see because I have a fixed line height, 32, and my font size is 53, it's kind of getting a bit weird. If you need to go back to a line height of automatic, okay, just delete what's in there, okay, and it will go back to auto. You can see here it's kind of squishing out of the bottom of my text box. It doesn't really make a difference here, okay, but I can drag it a bit bigger there. And the other reason is I'm going to go to alignment. I'm not going to go through all of these. You know how to use type. The thing I do want to mention is that often when you are dealing with, let's say, you see I've got marketing message goes here rather than the actual marketing message. Especially when you're at a really new stage of the app, I like to add really generic stuff like this. Generic, boring fonts with non-offensive titles. They know where the marketing message is going to go in there. But if I start using, like, I don't know, my own creativity to add marketing messages here at this early testing stage, somebody's going to come back and say, oh, hey, we don't say it like that. This has got to go to copywriting. You're like, no, just click the buttons. I want to see if it works. So often I will strip out anything that will cause any offense or cause the wrong kind of feedback. So marketing message goes here is fine. All right, I need a couple little things before we can move on, and just other things to point out. If I'm dragging this around using my pointer, okay, and if I click, hold, and drag around, can you see it's jumping around? It's pretty handy, okay? You can see there it's lining to the middle of my page. I can drag it down. That's the middle of the page. Oh, nice. I'm going to stick that there. I'm going to copy and paste. This is another interesting thing about Figma. I'm going to zoom in. Copy, paste. You're like, what happened? Actually, it pasted on the top of it. By default, it will stick whatever you've copied right over the top of it. So it looks like you haven't copied it. But now you know that, that's fine. Okay, so I've copied and pasted it. This is where my product shot's gonna go. Product shot. I'm gonna make this smaller because it's more of a, I don't know why. It's gonna be smaller. The other thing to do is if you do want to copy and paste, often what I do is I hold down the Option key on my Mac, Alt key on a PC. So I've got it selected. I'm on my Move tool. I keep calling it the pointer tool. Okay, the Move tool. Hold down that Option key on a Mac, Alt key on a PC. Can you see the little double arrows that are appearing? Okay, the double arrows means when I drag it, so I've got my mouse down the whole time. I've got that Option or Alt key down. It'll make a duplicate. Same here. I want another one. There we go. There are two of them. I can select both of these, and all I'm gonna do probably is just make them bold and make them a little bit bigger. Now, typography here has the basics. If you're like, oh, where's the rest of it? There's the rest of it. So there's little options here, okay? Type settings, you get all the extra things. We'll cover different parts of it in this course, okay? But here is the kind of the other things you might have been looking for. So I'm gonna make sure it's centered. I'm going to make sure it is all uppercase. Where's uppercase? There it is there, okay? And I'm going to double click this one and say, this one's my buy now, and this one's going to be my learn more. All right, I think that's it. Look what we made. We put text on the page. All right, that's going to be it. Boring old text. Let's do boring old boxes in the next video. Stand back. We have added rectangles to the video. I'll show you how to do rectangles and circles. We'll do rounded corners. It's very exciting, I promise. Let's jump in. All right, let's start by grabbing the rectangle tools. Down here, it is this thing. It's a rectangle. There's a bunch of other stuff. So there's a little arrow next to it. Okay, there's a bunch of other kind of useful drawing tools all together, but we're gonna start with the rectangle tool. Okay, and what I'm gonna do is I want a kind of a placeholder image, just a big rectangle like you saw at the beginning. So I'm gonna click, hold, and drag out. and it's gray. Woohoo! But it also covered my text. It's still there. Look, hello, you're underneath there. So let's look at something called layers. Layers, you know what layers are. How do they work in Figma? There's a couple of ways to get to it. So I'm going to show you a couple of ways, just to show you all the different ways in Figma. Not to bamboozle you, but it's kind of good to know the kind of main ways of finding stuff. And you'll find the one that works best for you at your level. So a nice easy one is to right click it and say, not select the layer, I want to send to back. So I'm going to say send to the back of the layers, and it's behind there now. I'm going to undo that. The other way is over here, okay, in this left panel. Okay, you should see file. Okay, you might be on page 1, and we should see layers. The only other thing you might be in is assets. So jump over to file, okay, and in your layers, that's one page called confirmation, one's called checkout, one's called features, and we're on this home page, okay? And inside of here is all the bits. And you can see it's kind of a layer order, like kind of more traditional design software, okay? Rectangle is above, where is it? Product shot. So I need to click, hold, and drag the rectangle. See those lines there. Give that a crack. Undo it if it goes horribly wrong. You could drag product shot, click, hold, and drag it above rectangle. That works too. The other way I want to show you is that I'm on the desktop version. So I've got file, edit, view, object along the top here. If you're on the browser version, you'd be like, oh, I don't have that. Okay, yours is just hiding in here. Okay, file, edit, view, object. See, they're exactly the same. Object there, object there. So it doesn't matter. Often in this class, I'm going to go up the top here to find stuff. And you'll be like, I don't have it. Okay, it's just under this F here for Figma. Okay, and you'll see I can go to edit, I can go to object, and I can go down to bring to front, bring to forward. I can't actually because it's grayed out. It's because I don't have it selected. I'm going to undo it so it's at the top. So I'm going to click on the rectangle. Then I can go to edit. No, it was under object. You can see in backward, which is just go one level down. So it'll be behind marketing message. Okay, I want it to go send to back, completely at the back. Again, it's in the exact same place. U, object, and there's send to back. Okay, you also see there's a shortcut. So many ways. U, object. I use this one quite a bit. Okay, it depends. If you're ready for shortcuts, this one here, the square bracket is just on your keyboard. You'll see it normally next to your P key. Okay, and bring to front. So I can go square bracket forwards, square bracket backwards, forward, back. It doesn't matter which one you use, but in this video, I want to kind of show you all the different ways because I want to give you a sense that there's multiple ways of going at it and it doesn't matter which way you end up choosing. But that's it. I'll go kind of just an easy way from now on. All right, let's zoom in down here, spacebar, click and drag, Command plus to zoom in, Control plus on a PC. Let's grab our R key for the rectangle tool, drag out a box, and I'm gonna use my square bracket because we're fancy with our shortcuts, but you use any way you like, okay? And I've got my buy now button. Now, another trick in Figma is if you wanna select two things, I can click and drag over these two, or I can click one, hold shift on my keyboard and click the other one, and they have both selected. Okay, and now I want another rectangle. So instead of drawing it, I'm gonna click this one once and use my copy paste, which ends up putting it right over the top of it. But don't worry, we know, okay? And that is going to be that. All right, and I've been talking about like keeping design out of this wireframe. Wireframes are meant to be super just generic, but I can't help myself for some things like rounded corners. Ooh, I really like rounded corners. So if you click on this rectangle here and you zoom in far enough, okay, you will see the little dots in the corner. You can click, hold, and drag those. If you can't see them, watch this, if I zoom out and I have it selected and you have your cursor flashing above it, can you see it's not there? It only shows you at certain view levels. So you have to be in quite close to see these. Okay, if you want to do them manually, you have it selected. And over here, under appearance, you've got this one called corner radius, and I can type in 8. Same with this one, I can say, I can either drag it, okay, and you can see it tells you that's 8. It's up to you. I'm gonna hold spacebar, move up, okay, click on this one as well, and I'm gonna make this consistent by typing in 8 as well. You might decide that actually corner radius, you don't want them 8 in all corners, you want one of them to be different. Okay, see this little option here, it kind of expands the individual corners. So at the moment, they're all at 8. You can decide this bottom right. Can you see it's the top left, top right? You got it. Bottom right, I can make this one 30. Okay, it just means that if I zoom out, one of them is different. You can do that manually as well. Okay, you can hold down the Option key on a Mac, Alt key on a PC, and you can do them individually as well. Can you see that? Just one of them moves around. All right, I'm gonna go back to consistent. So corners mixed, I'm gonna get rid of mixed and just delete it and type in 8 over the top and hit enter. Now, they're all the same. All right, we've drawn rectangles with rounded corners. Let's draw a circle. Down here is our circle. Okay, what's the ellipse, which is a shortcut for O, at least it looks like a circle. Okay, so I'm gonna hit the O key on my keyboard and I'm going to drag out a circle. Another thing when you are drawing either circles or squares or anything, if you want it to not be an oval, okay, the O key, here you hold down, what key is it? you know what key it is. It's Shift. Hold Shift while you're dragging and you'll get the lock the height and width. Okay, so I want something about that sort of size-ish. You can see the sizes of it over here. Mine's at 32 by 32, roughly about there. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to zoom in on it, spacebar, and I'm going to grab the type tool because I want that plus button. So I'm going to grab the T key. Okay, I'm going to click once, and I'm just going to type a plus on my keyboard. Font, I'm going to use interim bold. That's fine. Go back to my selection tool. Now, if you want to move this, you'll be like, all right, I want to put this above this button. You're like, yeah. Okay, so sometimes you just need to click off in the background and then drag it. Okay, and in terms of the font size, we're going to use our sweet shortcut. I'm going to click in here and use up arrow to get it kind of the right size. It jumps around. It's trying to lock into pixels. That's okay. So about there, the right size, up. Again, remember we're at 400%. 60 kind of worked for me. So now I'm like, all right, that looks good. The other trick that I want to show you is when you're trying to line something up, it can be quite tricky. I'll show you more exactly later on, but dragging it around, it tries to snap. Can you see it's like, oh, I want to be here. What, did you mean here? You're like, no, just go right in the middle. So I want to nudge it around. So what you do is you have it selected. So I'm going to click off in the background, click it once, and I can use my arrow key, just the keys, okay, on my keyboard, just to move it around to kind of get it to where I want. That is good. Oh, what does that button do? You didn't ask? So if you're zoomed in close enough to your circle, you see this dot, and you'll be like, oh, what does this do? You ready? Num. That is totally not that useful, but it makes me happy. Anyway, I imagine bar graphs and pie graphs and stuff. All right, let's zoom out. I'm going to use the shortcut to go. Zoom to fit is one that I'm going to try and knock into your head as we go through this course. It is Command 0 or Control 0 on a PC. Nope, it's Shift 0. No, it's none of those. Command 0? Oh, heck. My brain's gone. Zoom to fit, that's what I want. Okay, so the one I just showed you, Command 0, is go to 100%. That's fine. This one here I like a lot. Zoom to fit. Okay, and it's Shift 1. I know that. Okay, hold Shift key down, both Mac and PC, and hit the 1 key, and it'll just fit everything into your window. There we go. We drew some rectangles. Look at us. All right, I'm going to select both of these and just kind of move that over here. We'll use that a little bit later. It's going to go in the middle down here. And then we'll get on to the next video. Let's go do that. Hey there, in this video we're going to go from this to this. Gray to this color. Teal, green, blue. Anyway, we're going to look at the basics of color inside of Figma. Don't skip ahead, there's some useful, juicy stuff in here, plus a little bonus shortcut at the end. All right, let's jump in. All right, color's easy. Let's click on our gray rectangle. It's the default color for Figma. Okay, and over here under fill, you can click on this little color square here and you get this color picker. Okay, you might have used the color picker before. Okay, if you haven't, this little dot here is the color that you've selected. You can click and drag it around to pick any color as long as it's red. Okay, I'm going to move it up into the top right here. And what you can do is grab the hue slider and just drag this along. Can you see what's doing to the color? Say you want it to be a blue, okay, but you can decide I want it to be more of a blue and I want it to be a darker blue, or I want it to be a less saturated blue. So saturation is left to right, okay, and up and down is brightness. Okay, so you can pick something in here that works for you. To pick black and white, it's kind of weird. You can use these down the bottom here. Okay, these are kind of some default colors. Or what people tend to do is click, hold, and drag past the corner. So I'm still got my mouse held down. If you drag it past the corner, it jams it into full white. And same with the black. If you drag it down this way, it drags it full black. Up to you. Okay, so the hue slider, this is the transparency slider. I'm going to pick this color here. I'm going to drag the transparency down so it's a bit more see-through. You can't really tell now because it's seeing through to the white in the background. Let's move it above all of this and let's move it to the front. Okay, on the layers panel, either way you want. I'm going to use the square bracket down by the P key. Can you see it's kind of frosting and looking through that now? All right, sometimes you don't need to have this open. Okay, I can have this selected. And if I want the transparency back up, can you see it's at 47%? That's where I dragged it on that last window. I can type in 100 and hit enter here. I'm going to put it to the back again using that first square bracket. I'll put it back to where it should be. I'm going to pick a color. It's really common to use blue or kind of a light blue. On top here, I'm going to use a teal for no good reason. The trick here is to just use one color. Try not to get too far into picking colors for everything, especially in this wireframe. Remember, this is about testing the mechanics of it, not really styling it. But you want it to look okay, so pick a color you like. Now the default down here is this hexadecimal number, so it's a 6-digit code that represents the color on the web. Okay, you can change it down here to RGB if you've got like a corporate manual spec document. You've got to use the official company color. You can type them in here. Okay, so it's RGBA, which is red, green, blue, and alpha is the transparency. You can either drag that slider or do it down here. It doesn't matter. Other ones that are useful is CSS. If you're more of a developer and you know the CSS colors, you can type them in, or I don't use that very much, okay? Hue, saturation, luminance. I use hue, saturation, and brightness. Where I find this quite useful is, you know, if I want to make this darker, I got to kind of drag it down here, but you end up going like, wee, and zigzagging it down. You're like, no, straight down. Okay, you can click in brightness. Brightness is up and down, so what you can do is just go in here and go, you see my arrow? I'm just using, you can't see my fingers. You can just click in here like we've done for lots of the other ones and just drag it up. Hold shift and it will go up in big chunks. How saturated the color is left to right. So instead of wiggling it this way, you can just click in this one here and go up or down. You see it goes left to right. Same with the hue. I want it to be a little more blue. So I'm gonna go up, 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 up. There you go. Really common though to leave it on hex. Leave it on hex, Dan. The other thing is that you'll end up with a bunch of colors down the bottom here. It's like colors you've already used. There's that gray. If you want to go back to it, there it is. There's that blue we just mixed up. So we can say I want it to be that color of, oh, the blue's gone now because it's not used anywhere on this page. Good work, Dan. I'm going to undo it so it comes back. So I can use it now and say you are that color. I don't like it. You wait there. All right, this color I'm going to use. The other thing you can do is use the eyedropper tool. So you can click in here and say, I want the eyedropper to be that color. The good thing about the eyedropper tool is you can get into some really nitty gritty. Can you see next to the icon there, there's this little, can you see it's like a little zoomed version of it? Say if you just want this like weird gray color on the edge of that type there, you can only see it when you really zoom in. Oh, you can't even see it when you zoom in. It's there. It's great for picking colors of images. I am going to show you the shortcut though is I'm going to click on this. I do this very often. I'm going to hold shift to click both of these. So I've got them both selected and undo that and undo the move. So hold shift, click both of these, use my eyedropper tool shortcut, which is I, okay, on your keyboard, the letter I, not your eyeball, okay, and I can click in here and they both will become that color. It doesn't matter really where you do it. Sometimes it's hard to click on things. If you do find it's really hard to click on things, the easiest way is just to zoom in a little bit, okay, and say, all right, now it's easier to click. And I can go into here, use my eyedropper tool. There he is. All right, I'm gonna go to Shift 1 to show me all my frames all in one document. You can change the frame color of the phone we've got here. Okay, down here we can say it's fill of white, which is FFFFF. Okay, you can change it to something else. Some people like to make it like a light gray. We're gonna leave it white for the moment. So frames can be colored just like rectangles. They're very similar. The other thing you might want to change, or I can't remember what the default is. It's the theme color. So basically there's a very white layout, right? Of my interface, everything's white, backgrounds are light gray. You can go into this little F here and you can go to preferences. You can say, actually I want the theme to be light or dark. Your system theme at the moment is, mine's getting it from my Mac. My Mac's telling it it's daytime. So you can use the light one, and it's nighttime, it changes to black, which is kind of weird. So you could force it to be black, okay? It doesn't change the document, it just changes the kind of interface. And it also means when I create a new document, okay, create a new design file, you can see the background is black. And if I grab my frame tool and draw something else, we're kind of in the same position, but the interface looks quite different, right? It's just a black, dark version. It's up to you. If you do change it to dark and you're like, oh, but the background is still light color, you can have nothing selected. So click in the background and go up to here and say, actually, I want it to be dark. I can't remember what the default is. Yours will be different depending on your system preferences. So I'm gonna go back to, I'm gonna force it to be light and stay in light mode for the rest of this class, but you know, you can change it. Theme, light, nice. Another thing that's kind of useful is depending on your vision and your screen, you can go to view, okay, and go down to interface scale. And you can say, actually, I'd like to make it larger, or try and decode those hieroglyphics. Not useful, Figma, but if I do that, can you see everything in the panels gets bigger, and you can go bigger and bigger and bigger. If you've got a massive big wraparound screen, it might be nicer just to have the interface bigger. I'm gonna go, should I leave it this size? I'll leave it this size for the rest of the video so you can see what I'm doing a little easier. And one last thing is this is driving me mad. This is driving you mad? You didn't care? This doesn't fit in here very well. So I can drag this a bit bigger. Just, I don't know, it needs to be bigger. I'll show you a little shortcut, a little bonus for waiting to the end. If I drag this side and I want it to be equally out that side, what you can do is instead of just dragging one side and then the other, you can hold a sweet shortcut. I promise no shortcuts, but we've done loads. Hold down the Option key on a Mac, Alt key on a PC, and you can see it does it from both sides. Ooh, fancy. See, it was worth hanging around doing colored squares. All right, that's it. The big takeaway here really is don't use a lot of color. Try and keep your wireframes really simplistic. Use gray, use blue. Don't try and start color coding things again. We don't want to distract from our goal of this wireframe test. Just test the mechanics. Do people click where we think they're going to click? Is this the kind of thing that the client wants without fonts, without colors, without styling? All right, that's it. I'll see you in the next video. Hi there. In this video, we're going to look at the stroke, which is the line inside of Figma, all the things you can and can't do with it. Also, I'll show you how to change the default. So whenever you draw a rectangle, it matches a previous style that we've made. All right, let's jump in. All right, so let's add a stroke. Stroke's just another word for a line. So I am going to click this big rectangle at the top here, and over here, by default, when we draw something with the rectangle tool, we get a fill, but no stroke. We can add a stroke by hitting the little plus button, okay? You get given a little stroke around the outside. By default, it's a 1-point stroke, okay? Or they call it the weight. That's how thick the line is. I can click in here and use my up arrow or type it in. Okay, I'll put in something nice and thick so you can see it. 3. You can get rid of the stroke by clicking this little minus, add it back in, you got it. You can obviously change the color of it. If you want grays, okay, you want to just like a lighter gray, just keep it dragged to this edge here and kind of find something in here, or just make it black. Let's close it down. Now let's say you spend some time, you're like, actually I want this to be what, 3. Okay, you spend some time, you're like, oh, I love this green color. Well, you don't love it, but you've got to use it over and over. If I go over here and say rectangle tool, which is the R key, and I drag out another box, you're like, ugh, so it doesn't have the rounded corners, doesn't have the color, doesn't have the stroke. Okay, I could use my eyedropper tool, click on it, I for the eyedropper tool, bam, it grabbed part of it, but not the rounded corners, it just grabbed the colors. So what you can do is change the defaults, okay? So let's say I want this to be the default for every time I draw a rectangle. What you can do is just have it selected, go up to the F up here, go down to edit, and there's this one in here that says set the default properties. So you have to have it selected first, so the thing that you want to steal all the properties from. You click on that, nothing happens except that appears down the bottom. Now I'm going to click off in the background, hit my R key for the rectangle, and I draw something else. Oh, look at us, we've reset our defaults. What you can also do is, let's say we do something different for buttons. So that's the default for every time you use the rectangle tool, but there's obviously different use cases. We've drawn a placeholder image versus a button. Let's say the button's different and we've got a different color and we've got a different stroke around the outside. Hideous, but we need to move it over here. Okay, what you can do is you can say U, and you kind of probably saw it in there in the same place under the F, go to edit. You can copy the properties and paste the properties. If you're doing this a lot, there's a shortcut there. So I can copy the properties, and you, my friend, are going to be F, edit, paste properties. And it will grab everything from there and paste it onto there. Awesome, I don't want to do that, but now you know how. All right, undo, undo, undo. Those are the defaults. Let's look at drawing some lines. So we've put lines around the outside. Okay, let's draw a line on its own, and it's hiding underneath the rectangle tool. There is the line tool. Can I click on that? I'm gonna start up here, click, hold, and drag, 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 and get it down to the bottom corner here. I want it to be the same weight, so I'm gonna click in here and go up 2, so it's 3 for the weight. Okay, and I didn't line it up very well. We'll do that in a sec. Back to the line tool, which is the L key. Okay, click, hold, and drag from U down to there. It's really common. Ugh, it keeps changing that. So I'm going to say U, 1, 2, 3. We could copy and paste properties. Let's do that just to practice. So I click on this, I go Command Option C on a Mac. That's Control Alt C. Then click on this other one and go Command Option V. It will paste the properties. I use that loads. Again, if you this is too many, you're like, man, he said no shortcuts. Way too many shortcuts. I showed you the long way. You can close your ears when I start doing shortcuts. All right, so it's good, except I kind of messed this up. So I'm going to zoom in, Command +++, spacebar, drag it out. You can click on it once on this line here. If I click and drag it, okay, it'll drag the whole thing. So what I want to do is double click on the line and I get the 2 points at the end. Can you see? If I click on it, it turns to circles and I kind of get the little end points of it. Spacebar, move down, because if I don't, I'm going to click off in the background. Okay, and I click on it, I'm like, oh, I'm going to move the square. It ends up doing weird stuff. Okay, so if I double click on it, I can say U and U. Spacebar, that one looks all right. This one needs work. Double click, here we go. All right, so we've got a couple of lines in the corners. To get out of that, you need to kind of like click a few times in the background just to kind of come out of this mode here. It's not as, you got to kind of triple click. That's what you need to do. All right, so we've got our lines through there. Let's do our burger menu. So the burger menu is the kind of common thing on navigation for a mobile phone. Let's grab our L key for the line tool, or go the long way, You can totally go the long way. Okay, wherever you're ready for. Here's the L key, and I'm gonna click and drag out. Now it's pretty good at snapping, but if you do, what I mean by snapping is that, look at that, it really wants to go straight. Okay, if you get a little bit off, it's easy to get it back. What you can do is like we did with the circle. Remember when we dragged out the circle, if we held shift, it kind of like locked it into the height and width. You can do the same thing with a line. Watch this. If I grab the L key, click and drag out. Okay, if I hold down the shift, so the moment it goes anywhere, if I hold down the shift key, can you see it locks it into 90-degree angles, 45-degree angles even. Okay, so you might, that's handy. Get it to a size that you want. Again, when we test on an actual phone soon, that'll be, you know, it's hard to know how big the burger menu should be. Basically just 3 little lines. I like to call it a nav sandwich. Nobody else calls it a nav sandwich, but most people refer to it as a burger menu. What I'm going to do is zoom in a little bit and let's look at some more linesy stuff. Okay, so we want 3 of them. You can copy and paste using Command C, Command V, or Control C, Control V. We know our sweet shortcut now. Remember, we hold down the Option key on a Mac, Alt key on a PC, and we can duplicate it. Okay, you do the same thing again. Oh, I want to do one more shortcut. Close your ears if you're like, no more. All right, one more. Okay, for those of you still around, hold down the Option key and drag it out. What you can do now is you're like, I want to do that same thing again. Just duplicate it, the same amount, the same distance. You hold Command on a Mac, Control on a PC, and hit D. That will like duplicate or do again. Command D or Control D. It's really handy. You can keep going like great for lists and stuff. Anytime you're like dragging something out, say it's a list for this, zoom a little bit. I'm gonna first of all go to duplicate it. So you're like, I'm gonna do that. And then remember Command or Control D to do it again. It's great for building out little lists like that, or squares or circles or dots. All right, so we've got these guys. We need to look at some advanced stroke stuff. Not really. I'm going to bump it up size-wise to 2, just so you can see it a bit easier. And with this top one, this is called a butt cap. It's an unfortunate name, but it's the line that comes along and just kind of ends here. You've got another option. Click on this, the stroke here, see this little stroke panel? You have this like start and end point, and here they tie in a bunch of stuff. So like arrows, there you go. If you want to get rid of the arrow, hit undo. Okay, if I want the other end to be an arrow, there you go. So you've got some basic stuff in here. The one I wanted to show you is that this, I don't know why it bugs me, but this kind of like butt cap on the end here, you can say, actually, I want it to be either, I got to scroll down a little bit, can't quite see it on my monitor anyway, but there's round and square. So I'm going to say round, can you see it rounds the end? Ooh, I like it better. Okay, this one here, the last option is under, you can do it either one. Okay, it does both ends. There's a square one as well. What I want to show you is basically the line. Can you see there's that little blue thing running through the middle? That is the actual stroke. Then you put a weight on it and you can see the little blue line will stay, but the blue line's in the middle and it just kind of expands at either side. And if I do a square cap, let's have a look. Okay, can you see it kind of pushes the line in a little bit and kind of goes square on the end. I don't use that very often. People ask, it's there, but I use the rounded cap quite a bit just to smooth off the edges of strokes. You might want a butt cap. I'm going to select them all, and this is a good point. You can see here it says mixed. You'll see mixed all over the place when you've selected multiple things. So I'm just on my pointer tool, drag the box around all 3 of these, and it's saying the start point is, oh, it's a mixture of butt caps, rounded caps, and square caps. It doesn't know what to say, so it just writes mixed. So if it says mixed, it's unsure what to display. So I'm going to say all of them down the bottom here, round, and I only did it to one of them. Oh, that's weird. Round. It is going badly. This is a weird bug. It doesn't normally do this when I teach it. What is wrong? I am giving up. What happens with, I think it's the square cap. They've changed the way they do that. When they make the square cap, it used to kind of jut out. Now they've tucked it in, so the square cap, the line ends up being the same size. But it changed the width of my actual stroke. You're not making sense, Dan. Don't worry. You won't be doing that too often, but it's a bug, and I'll leave it in the course because you might bump into it too. Weird, confusing, and even Dan, the instructor, is a little bit weirded out by it. So I just remade them. Anyway, the main goal here is to look at the difference between the kind of flat-ended cap, butt cap, and the rounded cap. All right, I'm going to go to Shift 1 to kind of see the whole thing, and I'm going to select all of these, and often I just use my arrow key to move them around because at this, it's kind of hard to drag them at this size. It's like, kind of snaps around. You're like, no, no, nope, nope. So I like to get it kind of where I want it to be and then just use my arrow keys just to kind of tap-a-rooney. All right, there you go. We've got a burger menu or our mobile nav or nav sandwich. Let's start that as a thing. All right, I'm just going to move this up here using my arrow key again. Ooh, nice little shortcut for you is we've done it before. When I'm using my arrow keys, okay, it just nudges it around. If you hold shift while you do it, it kind of does it in 10, like times it by 10. Okay, so instead of moving 1 pixel up and down, if you hold shift and use your arrow keys, it does it by 10 pixels. Stuff I use that I forget I do. But there you go. you know too. All right, that is it. Strokes and looking at the default colors inside of Figma. On to the next video. Hey there, in this video I'm going to show you this thing. It's called object editing mode. You might have been stuck here already. I'm going to show you what it's for and how to escape it. See stripy lines. I want to show you early on in the class this. We're going to go into it more advanced later on, okay, but people get stuck early on. If you're a double clicker, you're probably already here. You might have figured your way out already, but if I have an object and if you're a double clicker and you double click stuff, you're like, oh, what's going on? How do I get out? How to get out is just to double click on the background. Let's do it with a new rectangle. So the R key for the rectangle tool, draw it out. Defaults back to the move tool. Double click it and you're inside of it. You're like, well, what is this? It means basically when you're not in object editing mode, okay, you grab the corners of the rectangle and it does rectangle-y stuff. It's kind of like forced to be a rectangle. If I double click it, I go inside of that object and I can wreck it. Okay, I can grab the corner now. You notice that the edges changed from a square to a circle. And watch this. Look, we've destroyed it. I can click out now, and now it's no longer doing rectangle-y bits. Kind of like, you know, you've gone inside of this object and you've edited it. It's called object editing mode. You can do some other cool stuff. Watch, double click, go inside. I can click on this line here. Okay, I've just clicked on the line, hit delete on my key. Okay, and I've got rid of that line, which has got rid of the fill. I can say get rid of that line. Okay, and you can kind of start destroying this thing and start pulling it apart. No longer a rectangle. That's gonna be handy later on when we start drawing our own icons. I'm gonna undo it to get back. But that is object editing mode. That's where we ended up with this line as well. Remember we double clicked on the line and we're kind of like, we got the dots. We're in object editing mode. The way to kind of know as well is the line doesn't have the stripes on it. This thing down here appears. Okay, watch this. If I double click on this over here, can you see this wasn't there before? Click off, click back on. Okay, it says, hey, do you want to mess around with the move? Do you want a lasso tool stuff? We're going to do the shape builder. We'll do all of these tools later on. Okay, you can get out of it by clicking the official cross, or if you're in it, just double click on the background. There you go, object editing mode, and where people get lost early on. All right, that's it. I'll see you in the next video. Hello, in this video, we're gonna look at the difference between the move tool and the scale tool. The move tool is what we've been using up until now. I'm gonna resize this and it just kind of gets bigger-ish, but it's not what we want. We wanna scale it up. So we're gonna use the scale tool, okay? Select it all, and it's gonna do this. They both have their place. Let me show you how they both work. And we get a little bit lost, but we fix it, it's okay. Let's jump in. All right, to start off with, I want to add the stroke around these buttons. So I'm going to grab this, go to here, go to edit, and I'm going to say copy properties, or you can use a shortcut. And I'm going to select both of these, not the type, just want just the two little rectangles. And I'm going to use the Command Shift V or Control Shift V on a PC. All right, so Figma by default works the way you would imagine. I select on this, I've grabbed both of them, right? So both the text and this button here, and you're like, I want to move this out a little bit. Cool. Maybe resize it a bit. Okay, but let's say that I want it to get bigger. Like let's say this one here, I'm like, all right, that's too big. I need to make it smaller. Watch, the font doesn't get smaller. Okay, it just kind of resizes a rectangle, but nothing inside of it. Same with the stroke down here. If I want this whole button to be bigger, watch, if I drag it bigger, you're like, huh, the stroke is the same width. The text is the same size. Like, how do I do that then? I want it all to be bigger. I'll hold shift. Nope. It kind of scales it proportionally for the rectangle, but the font is still the same size. So we're going to use the scale tool. You will toggle between the move tool and the scale tool quite a lot in this course. Okay, so I'm going to grab scale, and that's going to do the thing that we wanted it to do. Scale both the stroke and the font and the rectangle all together. It does it proportionately. Okay, I'm gonna undo that because I want to do it to this. I'm gonna select both of them. I'm gonna go to my scale tool. It's already defaulted to it. Okay, so now I can say you get a bit smaller, and you can see it's shrinking down the cross, which is a font on the plus. I'm gonna move that in here. Actually, I want to stroke around the outside. Let's do that at the end. It's more about the scale versus stroke. So you'll need to toggle between the two quite a bit. So fonts, we've done the, if I click in here, I can play with my font size. Okay, I double clicked inside of the type box. But let's say I just want to make it bigger. You're like, whoop, yeah. But don't worry, there is a super awesome, easy shortcut. Okay, for scale, which is clearly S for scale. Nope, S is for the slice tool, which I never, ever, ever use. It's K for no good reason. Okay, so V is the move tool. See down the bottom here, V and K. You toggle between those quite a lot. V, K, you see it changing down the bottom here? V, K, V, K, V. I want to be on K for scale. And I can say, all right, you are bigger. This thing here, I want to select all of this. I'm on my scale tool. I can say, all right, switch to my scale tool. I'm going to select all of this and just scale it down so it's smaller. See, somehow I didn't get that. Grab it all, then scale it down. What's wrong with you? What did I do to this guy? Let's have a look. He's working. Please hold. All right, I'm back. I know what I did now to break it. Yours is probably operating fine. I'm going to show you why mine's broken. It's because I was showing you something earlier on, and you might bump into this anyway. So let's keep this in the course. So this line here, can you tell the difference between these two? This one here has this box around it. Okay, the reason is because when I was showing you about how to like go into it, double click it and move around inside of it, I showed you the wrong way of doing it is this. Watch. If I grab this one, so you, and I grabbed the rectangle and tried to scale it up, it ended up putting a box around it, okay, instead of it being a line. Now it is a line inside of a rectangle. So what happened when I grabbed the square here to demonstrate the wrong way to do stuff. I don't normally do it, so that's why it kind of freaked me out a little bit, as in, I was lost. We won't go too much into how to fix it. It's really complicated for early in the course and not really that useful. We can just copy and paste. So I've got another one of these. I'm going to drag it out and I'm going to show you, get a bonus because we got lost. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here and say flip this one over. Okay, and I'm going to pop that into the corner. So when I'm dragging it, let's drag, click off in the background, and let's click and drag the line. If we end up putting a box around it like we did, watch this. If I click, hold, and drag this, it causes those problems when we're resizing. So try not to try and drag the edges of these boxes because it might cause us a little bit of trouble. So if you do need to edit the line, make sure you go into object editing mode by double clicking it and then moving it around, okay, rather than kind of dragging the squares around the outside because it causes that problem. All right, that's the problem. That's how to fix it. Where were we? Ah yes, selection versus scale. Hopefully now I can select all of these, go to my super sweet shortcut, which is K. You got it. And now I should be able to scale this up and down. And the stroke comes along with the font comes along, everything scales. Back to the move tool, which is probably the most common tool. Remember, is I've got nothing selected. Let's hit V on my keyboard. There we go. Shortcuts or use the long way, it doesn't really matter. That is the difference between using the move tool and using the scale tool. You will toggle between the two all the time. Great for fonts. Okay, scale it down. There we go, smaller font. All right, that is it. I'll see you in the next video. Let's try not to get too lost in the next one, Dan. All right. Hi everyone, in this video we're going to look at frames versus groups. We've kind of used both of them. Well, at least you know what a group is. This is a group up here, okay? Just keeps things together and I can kind of squish it and move it around, okay? Does groupy stuff. Frames though are super special. They're kind of like groups, but they can do fun stuff like this. Look, it's sticking to the corners. Ooh, okay? I can make it smaller and I can clip stuff. Frames have special powers. They're like groups, and I want to introduce them quite early in the course. If you're like, man, after this video, you're a little bit confused about frames still, don't worry. Kind of introducing it earlier so that it's not just a big freak out later in the course. And because you will run into lots of templates and other people's works that are all using frames instead of groups. And you'll be like, why? Why? We'll cover some of the why now. Let's jump in. All right, let's start by drawing some shapes on this side. So let's grab the rectangle tool. I'll draw a rectangle and hold shift so it's a perfect square. Let's do the polygon, which is triangle. Okay, and let's do an ellipse as well. So all roughly the same size. They don't have to be. I'm gonna zoom in and I'm gonna say all of you have no stroke. I'll select on both of these and say you don't have any corner radius for no good reason. Just want simple shapes. Okay, so we've got 3 shapes and I can line them up for no good reason. Come on, Dan, move on. Let's select all 3 of these and I can right click it and say group. Command G, Control G on a PC. Really common grouping. So grouping works how you imagine. Okay, I can click off in the background now and now I can click and drag all of these because they're in a group. The other thing to look out for is, can you see over here on my layers panel? Remember, you got to be on file, page 1, and we're on this features page. Okay, and there's this one called group 1. We're going to call this one icons. You can rename it over here. And inside of here, sometimes they're collapsed, sometimes they're open. Okay, so there's a little chevron here. You can open them up. So inside of my group, there is an ellipse, a polygon, and a triangle. Excellent. Groups. You can ungroup them by right clicking and saying ungroup. And the group goes away and it's just the shape sitting here now all on their own. I'm going to undo that because I want that group. There they are, icons. Twirl down. All right, I'm going to show you the difference between a group and a frame. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this. Okay, so I've got 2 of them. I'm using my Option or Alt drag. I'm going to ungroup these. Okay, so here's my group up the top, okay, called icons. And these are my 3 ellipses. I'm going to move these above this in the layer panel just to make it easier for you to kind of see. So there's my icons. And then I've got these guys just hanging out. So what I'm going to do is hold shift, grab you, and you. So they're all selected. Instead of saying group, we're going to say frame selection. Okay, we've got a similar shortcut. Okay, and you're going to go, oh, they look very similar. okay, as in this is all just stuck together. You can move them around. This one here that's now in a frame, not a group, okay, I can move them around. What's the difference, Dan? Well, in terms of grouping stuff, nothing really. You can use a frame or a group. In Figma, they use frames for everything instead of groups. Why? Because they are like groups, but you get some extra bonus features. I'll cover a little bit in this video, maybe just a teaser of like how frames work, mainly because like if you're opening up somebody else's template, you've used somebody else's UI kit or opening up somebody else's project, they can use frames for everything. And that's what confused me when I first got started. I was like, why is frames everywhere? Because they do some, I'm gonna say weird stuff, but really they do some powerful stuff. And as we go through the course, we'll learn more and more about them. But I want to introduce it early so that you're not like, the heck are frames? Cool. So let's talk about frames. Over here, you can see the difference in the icon. Okay, as in you can see groups are represented by this like little dotted square and frames are this little pound symbol hash thing. All right, it's got a frame. Works the same way. Look, there's stuff inside of it. Some of the fundamental differences, watch this. If I go into my group, okay, so this is my icons one. Okay, let's just call this one groups to make it easier. Okay, so inside of here, if I double click to go inside, okay, this is object editing mode. You go inside of it. Okay, I double clicked it. So I'm inside my group, or you can just click on it over here. I'm going to delete the ellipse, delete the polygon, delete the rectangle, and the group goes away. There is no use for a group with nothing inside of it. I'm going to undo that now. What happens with a frame? If I go inside my frame, delete this, delete this, delete this. The frame is still there. This is weird. This is why you'll end up with lots of like empty frames. You're like, what the heck is an empty frame for? It can exist on its own. And this kind of brings us back to how we got started in this course. Watch this. Remember when we drew out our phone pages? Okay, they were using the frame tool. Down here we used the frame tool, the F key. So a frame can exist on its own with stuff inside of it or not. Groups can't. So that's one of the perks of having a frame. It makes them kind of weird when you delete things out of them and they still exist. You're like, oh, that's weird. That's all right. We're getting used to the weirdness. Let's look at a little bit more of the differences. So when I'm using a group and I'm just got the group selected and I resize it, everything squishes. Whereas if I grab this one, the frame, can you see, can occupy like its own little space, okay? It doesn't kind of squish the contents. This is really handy because frames, let's say I kind of do it like this and kind of drag it up. You're like, it's doing nothing, Dan. Wow, what you can do is you can say, I want to clip the contents. So you can use it like a mask. That's a perk of a frame. I'm gonna undo that. Let me show you a couple more just so that we can, get used to it. Why am I making everyone scared of frames? If I wait to the end and show you frames, it's kind of too much too soon. So we're gonna do a little bit here and we'll go through the course, and by the end, master of frames you will be. Okay, so let's look at the group. So the group here has a few different settings on this right hand side, but watch this. If I click on the frame, there's a few extra parts like layout. We can click on flow. At the moment, they're just mixed freeform. Watch this. I can stack them this way. Okay, I can stack them vertical. See, go back to free flow. Actually, you have to undo. I can do some other cool things. Let me just demo one more. Move the group up there. Let's grab this frame, and what we'll do is we're going to, another kind of a weird thing about frames is like, you don't unframe. You group and ungroup, but you frame and then ungroup. Both of those use the ungroup to kind of break them apart again. So we've lost our frame. What I'm going to do is going to grab you, copy and paste this, move it over. It's kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but I want to give you a sense of why frames are powerful and why you see them in so many people's other documents. So I'm going to select all three of these, 4 of them now. Okay, I'm going to right click and I'm going to say frame selection. What I can do is go inside of the frame by double clicking it. Remember, object editing mode, go inside. I can say you are going to have the constraint of top and left. It's by default. This 3 though, I've selected all 3 with my shift key. So I'm inside of the frame by double clicking and I've held shift to grab all 3 of these. I'm going to say not top left, I'm going to be top right. You're like, nothing changes. Except if I come out, now I grab the edges, watch this. Can you see the icons here want to stick in the top right because I set them to top right constraint. This becomes super handy later on when you're like, all right, I've got nothing selected. F for my frame tool. I want, we're now working on the tablet version. Okay, we're going to do an iPad Pro 11-inch. Okay, I'm going to drag the name down here. And I'm going to grab this and copy and paste it, okay, and move it down here. Stick it there and watch what happens. Look, drag it out. It's sticking to the top right. Okay, you can do it with lots of elements inside of frames where you can kind of drag them out and they resize nicely. If you're feeling a little overwhelmed, it's okay. We're going to cover this over and over, but I just want to kind of, get into a bit of frame action early on so that it's not a huge, big kind of like shock later on, but also you will just see everyone uses frames. You're watching somebody else's tutorial online, you're like, Why are they using frames? This is why, they're really powerful. I don't need this now, so I'm gonna click on the name and hit delete on my keyboard. I don't really need any of this either, so I'm gonna get rid of it all. Oh, one last thing about frames that is interesting. Okay, is watch this. When there's a frame on the background, it has a name. This frame has no name. Let's have a look. So I've got this features panel. Remember we named that? That's my iPhone size. And that is a frame, exactly like the frame we just made. You can either draw frames using the F key, okay, or you can select stuff and wrap a frame around it. Frame selection. It doesn't really matter how you get your frame. They are the same once they're made. And the weird thing about it is, see how this one has a name up here and this one here doesn't, even though look, it's called frame 1. I can see the word features here, but not for frame 1. It only happens when this is out. You see, boop, I got a name now. Boop, I got no name. So we will find things you're like, that has a name, that doesn't have a name. It's just because they're not nested, okay, which just means there's a frame inside of a frame. The name goes away. Oh, Dan. This is meant to be helping you be less confused about frames, but let's just move on. All right, move on. That is frames versus groups inside of Figma. Oh, one thing is that should I never use groups? Are they bad? They're not bad. They just lack some of the features. So if you like to use groups, you can use them. If you need them to do other things like clipping or that constraints where it sticks to the edges, then you need to use frames. But there's nothing wrong with a group. People just use frames though. All right, that is it. I will see you in the next video. Hello, it is class project number 2. We are building out our wireframe to a kind of more complete version. So basically just this. And we've kind of built this part together. I want you to build out these other pages. They're not particularly hard because they're just rectangles with some type. I've put some placeholder text in here just using X's. It doesn't have to be exactly like I've got, but just something similar to this. We want to be relatively similar as we work through because we're going to build stuff together. So even if you disagree, like, no, they shouldn't be there, do it similar to mine. Okay, and the only other thing is the arrow. We covered arrows, so you might have to go back to that one. But yeah, just build out this for the 3 pages. We're following our task flow. If you're unsure about all of this, remember, there is class projects in the document, okay, in the exercise files. There's a class projects PDF. You can check that out. And also we're using this task flow that we looked at earlier. Okay, there is, we're building the homepage, product features, the checkout page, and the confirmation. So that's what we're building. Also, just remember, pick a simple color and just a simple font. It's also probably a good time to mention that there is an illegal fonts you can pick. You can't pick Papyrus, Comic Sans, Times New Roman, Arial, or brush script. Those will get you locked up. So any other font than that. And then when you're finished, I want you to take a screenshot of it all. Okay, so there is a way of exporting frames. At the moment, like on a Mac, I know I can hold down Command-Shift-4 and click and drag a box around them all. And I get this kind of like handy screenshot that appears on my desktop. PC, I'm not exactly sure what it is. Just double check what it is on a PC. The different versions are slightly different. Or take a photo with your phone and then upload it to the assignments section of this website. Okay, you'll find a place where you can put them. And for those people that hang around to the end, you got a bonus. You'll notice that my one doesn't have these across the top because I was like, oh, I'll just copy this and click on this features one and paste it. And you're like, huh, how did that, what? Why is that there? Okay, it's because of some weirdness that I want to show you actually. So doesn't normally happen, but it happened in this case, and I was like, oh, I'll keep it in the video. So Scott's wallet are inside this homepage. Can you see homepage? Okay, and in the layers panel, inside of there, kind of like indented, is Scott wallets. I click on this though, okay, you are hanging out on no page somehow. It's not on confirmation. It's not on screen checkout or features or homepage. It's just hanging out by himself. This is my burger menu. That is why when you're selecting it, it's copying this so it knows where it is on the page. This thing doesn't really know where it needs to go. So when I copy it and paste it, it just kind of like throws it into features page and it's like, I don't know. Okay, so that happens every now and again. Not very often, kind of often. Anyway, what I'm going to do is just make sure this burger menu is inside of my homepage, which is where I'm going to twirl those up. This just needs to be, make sure it's inside of here. Can you see you can kind of like hover above it and go whoosh inside of there. Now, when I select both of these and go copy, I click the word features and hit paste, it goes in the right place. That is a quirk of Figma. It happens every now and again if things aren't inside of the frame that you need it to be. It's just kind of hanging out on its own. Don't know how I did that, but here you go. Little bonus tip for you there at the end. All right, go make your project and I will see you in the next video. Hello. Hey, we're going to talk about free icons. There are loads online. I'm going to show you a good place to get them, both from websites and from the Figma community. I'll show you what kind of file types we need and how to kind of clean them up to get them usable. All right, let's jump in. All right, so there's lots of places to find free icons. I'm using iconfinder.com. I like it. I've used it forever. Let's go and find an icon and talk about the do's and don'ts. So I'm going to type in, I need a shopping cart. Okay, so I've typed in shopping cart. A couple of things you want to be wary of. It depends on how you're using this. Let's say we're using it just for study, practice. You can use any of these. Okay, the ones that you like, there's free and premium. So I'm going to go to free for this class. Okay, you might pay for them. That's fine. We are looking for, the other thing is, like if I want to use them commercially, so for work, I've got to make sure I use commercial use. Now, some of these commercial use ones require you to have what's called a backlink. Okay, if you hover above it, it says you need to add a link back to the designer's website. So they'll let you use it, but you need to kind of like on your website or app somewhere, you need to kind of link back to say, this is where I got this font. You might choose to do that. I'm looking for a shopping cart that is used for commercially, but there's no backlink. As in I can just use it freely without having to acknowledge the creator. Now, what am I looking for? So basically find something you like. Okay, I like this one. I'm going to click on it. And there's a couple of ways you can download it. There's PNG and SVG. You probably know PNG already. It's just an image file. It has transparency, which is perfect. And then there's SVG, which is better for this case. So let's have a look at both. I'm going to download a PNG. It's going to be 28 pixels. I'm going to download it. All right, I'm going to click save. You can just copy the PNG to clipboard. Okay, and then go to Figma and just go to paste, because I just copied and pasted it. Okay, that's obviously a quicker way, or you can download it if you need it to share with other people. Anyway, let's have a look at the other one. Let's go to SVG. But let's download it because I want to show you some stuff. So I'm downloading SVG as well. And I'm going to copy the clipboard and I'm going to paste it. You're like, they look the same, Dan. Okay, kind of. If I grab both of them and scale them up, remember our scale tool is the K tool. Okay, and I'm going to scale them up. Can you see the difference between SVG here, PNG here? PNG is made of pixels. It's transparent, which is cool. Okay, but it is not scalable. That's what SVG stands for, scalable vector graphic. So I'm going to grab this and it is scalable and it is transparent. You can obviously get a larger PNG. I can go in here and say, I want a PNG, and then if I make it big, it's going to work. Copy to clipboard, perfect. Okay, so it's nice and clear at this big size. It's still made of pixels though. Okay, so eventually if I scale it up, I'll start to see them. Can you see there the little fuzziness around the outside? The other thing is if I download it, I want to show you, download it again. Let's have a look at the sizes. Okay, so SVG is pretty small. It is 500 bytes. There's that first PNG, the small one, which was too small, right? And it's pretty close in file size. But as soon as I make a bigger PNG, the file size is much bigger. So 5 kilobytes. These are bytes, these are kilobytes. That is 5,000 bytes. So it is 10 times as big. When it comes to web and app design, you want, when you're producing a website, you need these icons to be super small and load super fast and be scalable. So SVGs win. The other perk for SVGs is that, get rid of this one, zoom, is that they are color changeable. Okay, so watch this. I can double click it to go inside. Okay, so I'm in that object editing mode and I can say, you are now red. Whereas PNGs, I can't as easily. I have to jump out to something and recolor it. Okay, harder to do. SVGs for the win. Sometimes though, you will pull down an icon that'll have a white background, okay? It'll just be on like this, okay? Sometimes they're on, sometimes they're not. So can you see here, now it's not transparent, okay? Because it had a frame around the outside that has white in the background. You can fix this by, let's have a look. Let's get rid of this. SVGs, when you get them from other people, from websites, quite often come as a kind of a mess. So the mess is there's a frame and inside of that frame is a rectangle and my little vector drawing that I want of the shopping cart. I don't need this other junk. What I can do is just select it in my frame. Okay, here's my vector. I want to pull them out of that frame and this frame here now is not very useful. Okay, so I can clean them up afterwards. You end up doing that quite a bit when you are working with other people's SVGs and the way that Figma deals with them. A little complicated, I know, more complicated than a PNG for sure, but this is just the way we need to go. The other nice thing about SVGs, if I double click on them, you can start to see these dots. We saw these dots when we were working with that line. Watch this, zook. Okay, you can start customizing them. That'll Mad Max trolley. Oh, super fast. Another good place to get free icons is from Figma itself. It has a community. So I'm going back to this little home icon here. I'm going to go to template and tools. They keep renaming this. Sometimes it's called community and sometimes it was a button down here and then it was a button up here. So just keep an eye out for where it might have gone. Every time I change this thing, go and change it. So I'm from the community. I'm going to search this community. I'm going to type in icons. Okay. And what you'll find is there's loads of brilliant stuff in here in groups. So let's say that I want, I don't know, hero icons is a really common one to use. It's a kind of a group of icons that a lot of designers and developers will use. I'm going to open that up. It doesn't really matter which ones you use. You're looking for the style that you like. Okay, so this is going to bring up a good point. I'm opening up basically somebody else's file. This is the preview. Okay, so I've gone into community, found something I liked. Okay, there's lots of other stuff in here, like other people's wireframes, like mockups of full apps and websites. We'll go into this again later on. For the moment though, it's going to say, I want to open this in Figma, which is a kind of a weird thing. You don't kind of like check it out, you actually open it, and now this copy is yours. What I mean by that is, so we're on hero icons. If I go back to my home, close this down and go to my drafts, it's kind of where we started off. Okay, there's the task flow, there's the wireframe that we're working on. And now hero icons is a file that I have. Okay, it's in the cloud, but think of it on your desktop now. It's like your file. It's not connected to the original one. So this can get a bit messy. I've got, when you're opening up lots of different icons, they'll stack up in here. So what you can do is once you've found the stuff and maybe pull it out of here, you can go back to this home tab, right click and move it to trash. Okay, so that you can keep this tidy. So if you're going through loads of different templates, other people's community stuff, they'll mess up your documents. All right, let's have a look in here. Okay, and you can see just loads of cool stuff, different sizes. Like the nice thing about it is, let's say something like this, where this house icon, okay, this is building here. They've got a solid version versus an outlined version, but when it gets smaller, can you see they actually change it? When it has to operate at a really small size, they lose a lot of detail. See, the windows get smaller. A designer has thought this through and think when it's at this big size, it looks like this, but when it's smaller, we'll kind of like adjust it. Okay, you can see this one here is a little bit more elaborate. When it gets smaller, okay, it gets just a bit more cut down to be more visible at a smaller size. Loads of cool stuff in here. One of the other things that if you've downloaded something that's other than the hero icons, you might find that under pages here, okay, there might be like a cover page and then there might be the icons. That's what they've done here. Okay, so you might open up something, you'd be like, I can't find it. Okay, because there's pages. We'll do pages together later on, but have a look, there might be something else. The other thing is trying to find the icons in here. You can search, but there is an option. So I'm on icons. Okay, I can have a look through here. Okay, there is all my icons, there's loads of stuff. They're very well organized, but you can do a search. You can do, what are we looking for? Shopping? Is there a shopping one? I imagine there is. Oh, look at that. Okay, so it's jumped straight to it. Now, how do I pull it into my document? What I'm going to do is I'm going to say, all right, I like this guy here. I'm going to double click it to go inside. Now, this is where it gets a little bit messy. I'm going to close down the search. Okay, so there it is there. I'm double clicking it again. Okay, so it was inside of a group. Okay, now it's inside again. I can go inside again and I can get right down to the vector there. Okay, so you kind of know you end up with this object editing mode. Okay, that's when you know you've gone deep enough because it could be groups inside of groups inside of groups. So you're trying to find those. I'm going to copy it and then I'm going to switch to my other tab. Oh, shortcut time. Command 1, 2, 3 on a Mac, Control 1, 2, 3. We'll switch between these tabs at the top here. If you've got 4 things open, you can go 1, 2, 3, 4. If you've got nothing open, you can only go to Command or Control 1. That's just the home base. Okay, so I can switch back to Command 2, paste. And there we go. I'm going to use my scale tool. Okay, and we've got somebody else's icon. One last thing that might happen is that you might grab, let's say it's this, and I just grab that, you're like, I think I've got it. And I'm going to go Command 2, Control 2 on a PC, okay, and I paste it in. What I want to show you is I've got it, but it's got this kind of weird icon over here. Basically this little icon here in this little group here looks kind of weird, right? It's got a purple color. It's because it's an instance. We're going to look at instances later on. It's too far from where we're at now, but you can then go, all right, what is all this stuff? Remember, I can go inside of it, say I want you. I can either cut it and paste it. Okay, so it comes out of that and that little container, okay, which is called an instance, can be deleted and we're back to having our vector. Okay, so I guess I want to show you that because you're going to be looking for stuff and you're like, what is all this junk? Okay, essentially we just want to pull the vector out of it. Later on, when we know what an instance is, they're going to be useful, but we don't know what those are yet. So just grab the vector. All right, and we don't need any of that right now. All right, we've figured out where we can get them from. I'm going to show you one other place to get them before we go and make it a class project. Okay, but we'll do that in another video because it's another kind of function side of Figma called plugins. That's it, working with icons in Figma, try and find SVGs and try and dig out the kind of vector part of that icon, ditching the frame in any sort of instance that wraps it up. And we learned a sweet shortcut, Command or Control 1, 2, 3. We'll jump between our tabs. Impress your colleagues with your tab jumping. All right, I'll see you in the next video. Hello. Hey, we're going to look at plugins inside of Figma. Basically, a plugin is a little mini program that runs inside of Figma to kind of extend it. Okay, it can be finding fonts and images. It can do all sorts of stuff. Okay, there's lots of different plugins. I'll show you how to find them inside of the Figma design doc, also in the community. They're a super powerful way of extending Figma and super useful for us. So let's dive in and I'll show you how to find them and use them. All right, plugins. They are found under here, under actions. They do move this around. Every time I record this video, it's somewhere new. Have a little look around. We're looking for actions, and we're going to go to this one called plugins and widgets. Okay, so we're going to look at plugins now. We'll look at widgets later on. And let's look at something we kind of already know. So we'll look at icons. So I'm going to type in hero icons. Okay, because that's the one we found that community document for. Okay, it doesn't really matter, but there happens to be a plugin for it as well, rather than opening up the community doc, searching in the files, and then bringing it in. What this means is a plugin just like a little mini program that runs on your screen. It's just easier than going and digging through files. Okay, so I can go in here and say, all right, I want the account page. They have an account. Let's go for, so there's no account. I'm looking for a person. Man. Do they even have one? Account person, man, woman, nobody. Come on, brain. Let's give up. Let's go book. Okay, so there's a book. Let's use this bookmark one. So what you can do is you can click and just drag it out. And you have an icon ready to go. Look at that. Super cool, super quick, super easy. Remember, it's come through in a frame with the vector inside. There's nothing wrong with having a frame. I think in the last couple of videos, I'm like, get rid of the frame. No, it's kind of like a group. It's got the vector inside. It keeps it in a nice square. There's nothing wrong with it. Sometimes though, they come with a white background. You can see they've turned the eyeball off on this to hide it. Okay, sometimes they come through with it. You can turn it off. And a frame sometimes is often used because, let's drag out another one, is that they can be lined up. Can you see they're different size vectors, but let's select them both. They're in the same square, if you know what I mean. That's handy for icons because that is the same height by width, the 24 by 24 by the look of it. Okay, so you don't have to get rid of it. I'm just making you conscious of the frame because what ends up happening is, let's go for something else. Let's find something with bits. There we go. So this one here, I end up sometimes doing this and you're like, okay, I want to get rid of this part and then this part, and then you end up with junk left over because there's this frame that I haven't deleted. Okay, so over here I can see it. It's got nothing in it. I can delete it. It's getting you used to it. Okay, you can find plugins other ways. I'm going to get rid of these guys. Oh, you see I did it there. I didn't get rid of the frames. I got rid of the insides. Thought I did. I just didn't drag a big enough selection around them before I hit delete. So let's go to community. Okay, and let's go to templates and tools, which used to be called community, which they still kind of call community. And let's go to plugins. Actually, there is a set here that says specifically find me plugins for file organization. There's lots in here. My advice to you is after this video is just spend 5 minutes having a look through the plugins. You'll be surprised at how many things have been made for us here in Figma. It's really useful. If there's something you're doing repetitively or something weird for your job that you use this other company, Unsplash or some stock library site or some database, you probably find somebody's created a plugin. There's so much here. So spend some time, have a look around. Editing and effects. Icon plugins. Oh, there we go. And the reason this way is quite useful is that often you can say, I want the free ones. Okay. And the other thing that's handy in here is, let's say Iconify. So let's have a search. Let's go Iconify. Okay. It's meant to be a company, but there's a lot of different people. So I've typed in Iconify, all products. I want to show plugins. Okay, and you can see there's Iconify, there's another Iconify. Okay, you can have a look and say, all right, this one's been used by 23,000 people, which seems like a lot until you see this one, and this one's been used by 3.5 million. And when you're new, that's just kind of a good signal to go, all right, lots of people are using this one. This is probably the one I want. So that's the same plugins. We can just get to it a different way, either via the community or via inside our design doc. I'm going to open it in. Which file are we working on? We're working on that one there, and there's my plugin. There it is. Okay, and you'll notice that all plugins are made differently, as in there's no consistency. So like me showing you how to use this one was very different from the hero icon one. So, you know, some of them are really big, like this one's quite in the way. The other hero icon was quite small. This one here has some cool features, like watch this. If I go, I like this one here. I can decide what color it is before I get into Figma. Okay, and I can decide what size it needs to be. It's going to be an SVG, and I can import it as a frame or as a component. And when we get more advanced later in the course, you might jump to this. Okay, so that'll save us a step later on. But for the moment, we know what a frame is. We're going to bring that in. Where did it go? Just on my page. You can just drag them out as well. Okay. Just remember, they're not made by Figma. So if they're not working, It could be that they're not supported anymore, or they're a new plugin and there's one poor girl trying to kind of keep the plugin alive on her lunch breaks. Okay, so they're not, sometimes you feel like, oh, this should work and it doesn't. Why is it not working? Plugins are done by the community, sometimes by companies, but not Figma. The one thing down here as well that I want to mention is, let's find another one. Let's go Unsplash. It's a really good one for free stock images. Okay, if I search that, I'm going to plugins and widgets, and let's say that click on this one, it gives me a little preview. You got run and save. Okay, run is the one you want. It just runs within this document. Okay, it just starts working. That's the one you want. Save will save it for your organization, which just means if you're using Figma as part of a larger team, like an organization in a big company with multiple Figma users, you can save it and it means everybody will have access to it. Most of the time though, you just want to run it. There we go, Unsplash. All right, there are loads of plugins, and that is your introduction to plugins. Last thing is, if you go back down in here in your actions panel, you will see that it has recent ones, so you don't have to go and search them every time. All right, that's it. That is plugins inside of Figma. We'll look at a few more later in the course, but that's a good intro. Let's get on to the next video. Hello, it is not homework, but super fun class project time. Okay, I want you to find 3 icons for your site. Okay, I want you to find a cart, an image, and a success icon. Let's have a look at my one. So the cart icon goes on every page, okay, at the top here, okay, and the image icon, we're gonna switch out for the crosses. Okay, so it's really common to use this kind of generic looking I'm an image placeholder icon. Okay, so I want you to switch that out where you've used it. And also on the confirmation page, find some sort of like, good work, you've done it icon. It doesn't have to be a tick, it can be a tick. Your image can look different from mine. Your cart might be a shopping bag. It depends on your product. If you find a good place for another one, you can have more than 3, that's fine. A couple of things I want to show you though before we go on is a little trick. For those of you who are doing the homework and haven't skipped it, you get to win. Okay, so I'm going to copy this one. I've got to make sure I've grabbed the frame, okay, that's got my vector in it, or just the vector if you've cleaned it out. Okay, I'm going to click on features. You click on the page name and I hit paste. It'll go into that page at the same position. Same with this one. I can hold shift and grab both of these and go paste. It ends up on both pages. Look at us. It's great for navigations or anything that, is consistent across the page, or is consistent across lots of pages. Imagine you've got, I don't know, 20 or 30 of these frames, okay, for your mobile phone, different pages. You can paste them across lots of them easily. The other thing I want to show you is I used the Iconify plugin. You can get them from Icon Finder. You can get them from wherever you want, the community. I don't mind where you get them. I'm gonna jump back in time now and show you some of the issues I have, just to keep showing you some of the quirks with Figma when importing icons from other people. All right, let me show you now. All right, so I ended up using Iconify and just dragged out some versions of it. I ended up kind of on this page here, and this is where it's kind of weird. Let's zoom out and let's say I'm going to drag this one up here. That worked fine. The vector's inside the frame. I'm going to leave it like that, and it's up there. This one here I'm going to drag out, okay, and the vector came out of this frame. The frame is still down here, okay. It is just one of the weird things about Figma. That's okay, we're getting used to it. So the thing that's making it kind of weird is that if I click on this vector, it is a vector inside this thing called IX success, okay? And somehow I clicked on the vector and not the frame. If I click on the frame and then drag it out, okay, I get the whole thing. Sometimes you can grab the vector and not the frame. We got it, Dan. The other thing to note is that this first one I'm gonna undo. So this icon here is inside my features page, because it looks like it is. Look, there it is there. This other one, if I click on this one here, the success one, it is actually hanging out my layers panel, okay, not inside of features. It's just on top. Imagine, if you know layers, you'll know, okay? But if you don't, it just means it looks like it's on top of it, but it's not actually inside of that parent frame, which is called features. So what I'm gonna do is, it's just something to be mindful of, and I'll keep reminding you through the class, because that's where we get caught out. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say so selected the whole parent frame, and then I'm gonna drag it out. Okay, now it's completely out, that's fine. Same with this one, he's come out of features, so he's no longer in there. And then this one in here, I grabbed the vector again by accident, so I'm gonna grab the parent frame and drag it out. So now these guys are hanging out, not on anything, and I'm gonna be a bit more specific. Sometimes it's easier just to zoom in because it's easier to grab the little names. In this case, it's a ... because it's quite small. And I'm gonna add it to the, one last thing I wanna show you is that I grabbed 3 different, they weren't from the same family. These match size-wise, but this one doesn't. So what I'm going to need to do is drag it up and be a bit bigger. For some reason this came as 24 by 24, that one's 24 by 24, this one came at 16 by 16. Now I can use my scale tool, okay, and just drag it up. It should snap and get, there you go, 24 by 24. Now it's the right size. You can select on the parent frame and say, actually, you are going to be 24. See, it says dimensions by, and because the height and width are locked, they're called the aspect ratio. Okay, so it'll do both at the same time. Was that helpful? I gotta add these things because, yeah, there's some quirks to Figma. They're real easy once you get used to them. I want to throw these in here just in case you do get lost yourself. And what I might do to make this a little bit nicer is I'm going to say you, okay, I'm going to call this one icon hyphen cut. This one here, remember you can double click them over here or in the layers panel. This one's going to be called icon image. And this one here is going to be, don't click that button. That is the, let's remove this. That is that there, little icon. If you do click it, that just says to the developer when you're finished this course, I'm done with this. That is ready to go to development. When it's off, it means it's not. Okay, so you'll accidentally click it like I did. We'll cover dev mode a little bit later on. And we're going to call this one success. Or tick, it doesn't really matter at this stage. I'm going to put them on my document now, move them around like you saw at the beginning. Okay, I want you there. Actually, this one didn't need to be that size because I'm going to use it a lot bigger. Okay, and yeah, work your way through and finish the project. All right, I will see you after the class project. Hi everyone, this video we're going to look at the exciting world of pages. I want to have its own video because there's a few things to it. I want to add some extra value and we're going to need it because at the moment we're starting with just one page, our mobile wireframe, but we're going to add a bunch of other pages to keep our persona and task flow on. We'll have this one we're working on currently, a desktop version. And also I want to show you because one page you can get quite far with, but eventually you end up with stuff like this. This is like more of a real world project from me. Okay, it gets messy. So you end up having lots of different pages, okay? Instead of just page one with all the junk on it, you need to separate things out, okay? So that you've got kind of like different groups of content to make things a little bit easier. We're gonna do that in the course. So let's jump in and learn pages in Figma. Let's go. All right, pages. So you get given page one by default. Okay, if you can't see it, you might be on assets. Okay, make sure you're on file and see page one. You can get pretty far with a document. You don't need pages is what I'm gonna say. You need to understand them though, because yeah, they're handy having extra pages. Plus when you're working with other people's documents. So let's go through now and make sure I'm on file. Let's call this one, instead of page one, this one is mobile and it's gonna be wireframe, not Wi-Fi. Let's add a new page by hitting the little plus button. Let's call this one desktop. We're probably going to skip wireframes, so we're just going to call this one desktop. And you've got two pages. Okay, these feel like pages, but they are just frames. And let's go to desktop and let's create some pages. So F is the shortcut for the frame tool, or grab it down the bottom there. I'm going to go over here and we're going to switch from tablet, phone, desktop. We're going to pick desktop, this 1440 by 1024. I don't know why you need to say 1024, but that's how everyone refers to that size, not 1024 for some reason. Okay, so we want, how many of these we want? We want 4. So I'm going to use my option down on a Mac, Alt on a PC, and just drag this one out. So I've got 2, or you could use your copy and paste. Just click the name first at the top and then go Command. Who remembers what duplicate is? That's right. Good work. It's Command D on a Mac, Control D on a PC. So I've got 4 of them. Then we're going to go to the shortcut Shift, hold Shift down and hit 1. That's the like fit everything onto the page. I like this. All right, I'm going to speed this up because I'm going to copy and paste. Actually, I know what that one is, home page. Let me copy and paste them so they match. You wait there. I'm just going to flick between this one and this one. The shortcut for going between the two pages is just your page up, page down on your keyboard. Okay, you might have to hold the function key if you're on a laptop. I'm gonna copy that, hit escape to come out of it, page down. This is painful, so I'll skip it. Let's jump to the end. We're gonna create a third page. Okay, this one is going to be, we're gonna hit plus, and this one's going to be our persona and task flow. Now on this page, I want it to be the top, so I can click, hold and drag it. So it goes at the top and it doesn't have to have a frame. So I'm just gonna dump in from the exercise files, I'm gonna dump in my persona example. You should have yours kind of screenshotted or downloaded from earlier. I'll zoom out a little bit and then add my task flow. So in here, there's two task flows. There's the PNG version, which is just like a screenshot. Okay, we can use those. Shift 1 to squeeze them all in. Okay, so there's a great place to keep the kind of brief and what we're doing all on the document. And as you can see, these guys don't need frames to go onto. They can just be dumped on the page. Another thing I want to show you is that if the task flow at the moment is a PNG, because it's easy to add, but say we do want to add somebody else's Figma file. Okay, you've downloaded it, you've found it, it's on the hard drive, somebody shared it with you. Okay, it's most easy just to share a link to the file, but people do share Figma files, their actual file. You can save a local version. Okay, so I've done that in the exercise files. I'm going to show you how to open one. So what we're going to do is go back to home, okay, and we're going to go over to this little icon here, import. Okay, and we're going to import from my computer. We're going to find our exercise files. We're going to say .fig. You see it there? Not the wireframe. I'm going to grab the taskflow.fig. I want this one because it's kind of a working file. I've imported it. Where is it there? So this, instead of an image, is actually all the rectangles and things. So instead of that image, I can copy this, go back to my, what do we, Shift 2, Command 2 even, okay, to go back to this and get rid of this PNG and just paste in the actual files, because then we can go and change it and modify it and fix Stan's terrible spelling and pick new colors. Up to you, but I also wanted to show you how to import other people's Figma files when they're a physical file. We'll do sharing properly later on. Why do we bother going through pages? I kind of mentioned at the beginning, but I want to show you one other good example. So I'm going to go to home, I'm going to go to templates, and let's look for, let's say you're building an iOS app. Okay, so iOS, we're going to hit enter. We're going to find one that has, okay, so for iOS 17, let's open that up. And what you'll find is let's open it in Figma, which we know, we're going to agree, will give us a local copy of our own version. Okay, we're not actually working on theirs now, the person who made this. Okay, we're working on the version now that if I go to home and I go to my recents, okay, there it is there. It's actually on my computer now. Okay, but when I'm in it, you're like, oh yeah, it's kind of nice. It's very comfortable. There's not a lot going on. But then you go to make sure files under pages, look, cover, and then a changelog. Whoa, getting started. Okay, but look at this. Watch, I could scroll down and there are lots of pages for this one particular document. Okay, for obviously the operating system for mobile devices is huge. Okay, so we can go down and say, actually, can you see what they've done is they've grouped them instead of like mobile versus desktop? They've gone, all right, I want to find, let's find something interesting. Let's look at notifications. Super interesting then. Okay, but here is a page dedicated to like links up here to like the guidelines for them and stuff you can start using. Okay, they're a little bit complicated now because they're in something called components, but we'll learn those. You'll get hang of those later on. But it just gives you like page control. Look at that, all the dots you need for when you're like swiping. Popovers, let's have a look. Oh, this is for iPad only, but you can start to see people group things in pages. And when you're new, you might not find it or get a little confused or lost. There is lots of stuff hidden in the pages here. All right, let's close that down. I'm gonna go back to here and keep everything clean. You won't, you'll have loads of junk lying around in here. That's okay. I'm gonna go into here and say, just to be tidy for this course, remove to trash, excellent. And that's it. We made a whole video on how to add a page. Good work, Dan. I hope there was something useful in there for you, and I'll see you in the next video. Hi everyone, in this video we're going to prototype. One of the powerful features of Figma is be able to mock our designs up and test them on at least a virtual phone and later on a physical phone, okay, where we can click through to our different pages and check out how it's working. We can get it to a more appropriate size, we can check sizings, and we can keep this open and keep working and be testing all the way through. Okay, it's called prototyping. Let's jump in and learn the basics. All right, first thing, Shift 1, just so everything's in the screen. We're going to switch to this option here called prototype. So you will toggle between design and prototype quite a bit and get probably a little lost to begin with because prototype, if I click on this now, it loses all of the design things, so the color and the font and the sizes. Okay, so just be mindful. I'll remind you through the course. Let's click prototype. Let's click on this first frame. You click on the first heading of the frame. Okay, so we've got homepage selected. And what we're gonna do is watch this. If I hover around, okay, you can see this like dot that appears on the corners here. Okay, what I can do is I can say you click, hold, drag, go there. And by default, it's just going to say, all this is going to be fine. It says the trigger is going to be when I'm tapped, I'm going to navigate to the features page instantly. Okay, let's do the features page. This one, just drag it here. You can drag it back this way. Okay, you can drag it all sorts, like, see these like things here? They're called noodles or wires. Okay, and we're going to drag it from features to this page. And then when we go to checkout, I'm going to scroll over spacebar, okay, and drag it to this one. Okay, we're going to use all the default interactions. All right. Get ready. You're ready to prototype? You do it by hitting this little button up the top here, the little play button. It's called present. Ready, loading. There it is. It's in a phone. Not good. There's all my logo and stuff stuck in it. We'll address that later on. Okay, watch this. If I click once, it moves to the next page. Next page, next page. Oh, very exciting. And then it doesn't go anywhere because we don't have anywhere for that to go when it's finished. All right, the thing to note when you are dealing with this prototype view is that it's actually opened up in another tab. Okay, so there's the tab we're working on. All it did is when we hit the play button, it opened up our design in another tab. Okay, a couple of things we're going to look at is, watch this. There's kind of nothing here at the moment, but if you give it a real big jiggle of the mouse, okay, or click in the background away from this, okay, it will say, oh, look, all these other options here. The main ones you're going to look at is restart. Can you see down the bottom here, restart or the R key? We'll just get it back to the beginning so we can go through it again. Lovely. There are more options up here. You can go full screen to get rid of the Chrome if you want it to be, presenting it to a client. Click that off again. There are more options here. I'm not going to go through everything. The only other thing you might do is you've got a manual way of going through this as well. Okay, so just back and forward through the frames. Okay, you can leave this open. You don't have to close this once you're finished. Okay, you can just leave it there and it's kind of live. Okay, so what happens is, watch this. If I click on this, you'll notice that, oh, I can't see the color. Why can't I change the color, Dan? Oh yeah, that's right. I'm on prototype. Going to go to design. Okay, down here, I'm going to pick a new color. Okay, I'm just going to drag any old thing in there. And if I go back to preview, I don't actually have to launch it. Okay, I can restart it and you can see I'm kind of back here. It just can stay open. What I tend to do is click and drag this tab. Okay, and I can move it around and I can say, all right, I want it to be on this right hand side here. Okay, so I can be working on this side, which is a bit squished now. Okay, but it's kind of a live update. Okay, so I can say this, actually, I want to go back to that original color. What was it? Undo, undo, undo. You can see it's updating over here. And what I do even more is less side by side. Okay, and what I do is I actually drag this and have it open. What I'm going to do is close that down. What I normally do is I'll preview it and actually grab this tab. Okay, and you can actually drag it out of the browser onto my other desktop that you can't see. So I'm doing the exact same thing, but it's appearing on my other document. Up to you. I'm going to close it down. Okay, another good way of previewing is in here. There's another one. So instead of hitting the play button, there is a preview button. Okay, so you click this little chevron here, this little down arrow, click on preview, and it'll open up in like a little window that can be moved around. It's just hanging out there. It's too big. I can scale it down to kind of more my phone view. And what this is really handy is here, I can say, all right, say I'm working on the size of, click on features. Can you see it updates? Okay, and click in here and the product text is just too small. So I go through here and say up, 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 up. And you can see it instantly updates. I'll move it closer, you grab the top of it there. You can start to see in my desktop view, I can be quite zoomed in, be working on stuff and go, all right, what does it look like in terms of font size on a mobile device? So I'm not designing kind of the wrong size. Because you see that 99, way too small. Okay, so I'm going to go in here, make it bigger, 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 bigger. You get the idea, shift click. Oh, nice and big. Again, you can restart this one and close it down when you're finished. Okay, I'm going to go back to my prototype mode. You can delete these wires, okay, by just clicking on them and hitting delete on your keyboard, just physically deleting them. So click on the frame itself, okay, and click in here and hit delete if you want to get rid of them. I'm going to undo, because I can't, oh no, we're going to delete them. That's what I want to do. So delete that guy, you wait there. Actually, I'm going to put them back here because I want to show you a couple other things that are interesting that it kind of maybe catch you out. If I'm on checkout and I go to play, actually it's gone to that one there. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, if I click on, you see it switched it from preview to present. Okay, whichever frame you have selected is the first one that's going to appear. Can you see I've ended up at checkout? You're like, oh, that's not the first page. Okay, it just means that whatever one you are working on will present first. So if you want it to be the home page for the first one, I'm going to hit reset. It'll be on that page. One thing it can't do is let's delete this interaction, you can't connect to another page. So I'm still in prototype mode, I can click on home page, I can see this little dot. You can do it on either side, it doesn't matter if you want it to come out of the top, okay, it just kind of automatically goes to places. But you can't get it to go to another page, it doesn't like that. Okay, so you have to go to another frame, that's fine. You see there, I let go too early, so you got to get it drag across and connect. One thing people ask is sometimes you don't have the mobile frame, so I'm going to go to homepage, and you're like, how did I get the mobile phone? Or maybe I don't want an iPhone, I want an Android or something else. In prototype mode, click on the background, so you got nothing selected, and here you can see your prototype settings. Okay, so you might want an older phone, you're going to be in the future. You can only be in the future. So you probably got a 17, 18, 19. Okay, you might go, all right, I want a Google Pixel 2 from the dark ages. Okay, then when I hit present, it's going to use that as the frame. Same for desktop. Let's go to desktop. Okay, with nothing selected, you can go through. I think I changed mine. Yours probably is on nothing. Okay, I put mine on MacBook Pro because it looks cool. Okay, and when I preview this page, there's nothing on it. Not very exciting, but it is on this MacBook Pro. So I'm going to go back to my mobile one. You can change it to horizontal and vertical. They don't perform very well, as in it's very uncommon to design for vertical or landscape mobile unless you're specifically designing an app to do it. Okay, often it takes the shape of like a tablet size. Just doesn't preview very well because it gets kind of squished in there. Look. There you go. All right, that's it. That is basic prototyping. We'll do something a bit more exciting in the next one. Let's delete the interactions. Okay, so I'm clicking on these and just deleting them. Okay, and say goodbye to the noodles. Not many people call them navigation noodles. It might just be me, so be careful when you go into the meeting and talk about noodles. Anyway, let's get on to the next video. Let's connect the buttons up. Hello, in this video, we're going to look at adding interactions to buttons. And when we click them, okay, that one didn't do it. We're going to click on this one. Can you see we're going to add some animation to the transition between the different frames? Okay, we'll get the navigation to work up the top here, learn more. Oh, slidey. Okay, so let's add interactions to buttons and add a little bit of animations in between them. Let's jump in. All right, to get started, make sure you're on prototype mode and make sure you've gotten rid of the old noodles. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of you, you, and you. All right, and shift one so we can see them all. All right, so we've done page transitions or page interactions. Okay, what we're going to do now is actually do it to the buttons. So we're going to go click on the Buy Now button, make sure you're on prototype, okay, and you can see you get the little dots here like we did for the entire frame, okay, where they appear, we can drag around. We can do it for anything. Look, the text here, this icon, okay, we've got this button here. I want, when the Buy Now button's clicked, to click, hold, and drag, drag, drag to the payment page. We've skipped the features page. Let's give this a test. So shift spacebar to open up that little preview. Okay, and when that, I'll move you there. When I click on Buy Now, it jumps to the checkout page, skips the features page. Awesome. I'm gonna make that smaller so we can see things. Okay, the other, well, actually before we go too much further, I'm gonna hit R for reset. Can't see the buttons. This is a good point to kind of like point out we are designing for the, I'm scrolling up, for the iPhone 16, right? And the buttons are fine, you can see them, but you might have to support older models of phone. Okay, so you might have to just check what the most common phones are currently, what are the sizes, and just test on a few of them to make sure that you're, because like if I go back to this, where is it? Pixel 2, okay, and that if these buttons are below the screen, okay, the initial screen, it's called below the fold. That's what they call it, okay? Old printing term where I can't see them and aren't as likely to find them, okay, because they have to scroll here. So what I'm going to do is, they can scroll on the phone, okay, but over here, what I can do is, watch this, I can grab both of these. And that's an interesting thing inside of Figma, is if I'm in prototype, not design, I can still move things around. I can't change the color of it. It's a little hard to grab them. I grabbed a whole bunch of stuff there. I don't know what I grabbed. Okay. Ugh, I'm grabbing a... You can move them. Come on, Dan. All right, I'm going to zoom in. Clearly not as useful in prototype mode, but you can move things around. Can you see my little preview? I'm like, oh, I don't want them there. Okay, that means they can be seen on iPhone 16 and this old phone. What else can we do? Let's do this button. Okay, now be careful where you're selecting to prototype from. Okay, you can click on the text and get that to prototype over to our features page, and that will work. The click area, the thing they've got to click is the text, which is a lot smaller than the actual button. So I'm going to undo that and just make sure I'm clicking the button. I want that whole thing to be a button. And I'm just clicking, holding, and dragging. Okay, the next thing I want to show you is the animation. So by default, it's on instant. What I would like to do is when that Learn More button is clicked, I would like it to do something a little bit more interesting, like dissolve. Okay, dissolve is, if you hover above this little thumbnail here, it'll give you like a little preview. Dissolve is clearly pretty easy to understand. Skip, animate. There's a bunch of different animations in here. It's missing the best ones in the world, like page peel. Okay, but it's got your regular ones like move in, move out. Let me just demonstrate. I won't go through them all. You can explore those. Okay, but let's do the difference between, let's say, move in. Can you see? It's very exciting. I'm hovering above it. Just kind of slides in there. Watch. Off, on. There's something a little bit more special for like push or slide in I quite like. Can you see slide in? It pushes the other one and dissolves it at the same time. So the white one there gets pushed out. Let's just preview it actually. So over here, I can click on this. You can see the other one kind of moved to the left and dissolved, while this one, the second frame moved in. That's quite a cool one. Some of the other things to look at is, let's look at direction. Okay, we can get it to go from the other side. I'm clicking in here, hitting R for reset, I'm gonna go a little more. Can you see it push from the left? Okay, I'm gonna go back to the right. You can go up or down. Let's talk about the curve. So ease out is the default. And what that means is that it comes in really fast and slows down at the end. It eases out. Okay, if you want it to come in really slow, okay, you want it to ease in and then be fast at the end, you can use ease in. Okay, you can do both. Ease in and out is often just a good default. I like it. Kind of slow at the beginning, fast in the middle, slow at the end. Some of the other nice ones is ease in and out back. Okay, this has a nice little bounce. Hit R again, watch this, learn more. It's got this kind of like, what do you call it, anticipation from animation. It comes in and goes a little bit past where it needs to be, kind of bounces a little bit. I like it. So you can play around with these. You're not allowed to use bouncy, okay? It's illegal. Let's have a go with bouncy. Doing. Okay, you're allowed to do that. I'm going to use these in and back. Let's look at duration. Duration is just how long it takes for this whole animation to take part. Milliseconds, okay, is MS. And there's 1,000 milliseconds in 1 second. So that's 1 second right there. So you want it to be longer. You want it to be 1 second instead of 0.3. You can do that. And watch this. If I reset it, learn more. It takes a lot longer. Okay, so you kind of work out your timing. The defaults are pretty good though. I'm going to go back to 400. Reset. I like it. Probably a bit fast actually. I'm going to go to 700. There you go. Now let's do some of the other ones. So we've got buy now working, learn more. You can just do a select all. So you have to have nothing selected. I'm going to zoom out, shift 1, okay, to see everything. I'm going to close that down. And you can have nothing selected by clicking in the background and then go to select all. So it's edit, I don't know the shortcut. There it is, select all, okay, or Command A on a Mac, Control A on a PC, and you can see all of the different noodles. Can you see them there? There's 2. So which other ones do I need to do? Let's click on purchase, okay, on the button. Let's drag this off to like, I bought it, congratulations. And what it'll do is it'll remember the last thing you did. So it's going to slide in using all of our curve and duration. Perfect. Okay, another tip is we kind of get stuck. Remember, shift spacebar to open up the little preview, or you can hit the little play button up here, up to you. I'm going to go to buy now, purchase. Okay, and I get to this end bit and then I'm kind of like stuck. There's no real way I can do anything else. What do? Move him down there. Grab the white bit to drag it around. It's really typical for the logo to be clicked to go back to the home page. Let's do this. So I'm in really close and I need this to go to the home page. Obviously I could zoom out and I could drag the wire over or the noodle, okay, but your designs get really, really complex. Okay, so sometimes you just know where it needs to go, but you don't want to have to zoom out and try and drag it across all of this stuff, which is dragging, you're like, okay, it can be a bit of a pain. So what you can do is just do it manually. So with it selected, you make sure on prototype, you can see interactions here. You can add a plus next to it. So I've got a new interaction. The trigger is on click. Okay, so when this thing is clicked, the action is going to be, we'll cover these later on, okay, but we're going to say, I'd like it to navigate to what destination? Oh, look, these are my pages. I want it to navigate to my homepage. Okay, what kind of animation? I'm going to get it to do a dissolve. I'm going to leave everything default. You can close that down. You can see that the wire is going down here. Sometimes it's just easier to do it manually. So let's give it a go now while it goes back to there. Learn more. Nope. Can't go back. So I haven't done it to this page. I did it to just this one logo here, but not to these 2. So this is a good point. So what you can do is you can just work your way through doing the same one for all of these. Or what you can do is let's delete that one. Delete that one. What you'll notice is you can do some basic design stuff inside a prototype. I think we discussed that. We did. I'm going to select that and copy it. So I've selected on the confirmation page. I've copied it using my shortcut. Okay, and I'm going to click on checkout. So I know it knows where to go and then just hit paste. Can you see it went into the exact right spot? We've talked about that before, but also brought through the interaction. It doesn't work when you're in design. Watch this. If I click on this and go copy, and I go over here and hit paste, and then go back to prototype, it worked. It never used to. It does now, hooray. I knew that. Anyway, so you can copy and paste elements and they bring along the interactions with them. All right, so now we should be able to go here and go boop and go back. Go to the buy now page, it's purchase, go back to the home page. Oh, we're doing it. We're prototyping. If you do need to update an old one, okay, like this one here, I don't think does the same thing. You can click on it. Or actually, maybe it's this one. You can click on the wire and you can see it underneath, or you can change it up here. It doesn't matter, okay? If you want to see a bit more over here, you can click on it and it will open up with all of the stuff that appears when you click on the wire here. All right, so have a little experiment with the different animations, okay? You know, all of these, unfortunately, there's no page peel like we all love. I think it's been made illegal in most countries. So yeah, that is it. Experiment, don't mess with Smart Animate. Ooh, got a good idea. Editor, can you exit us from this video using the super lovely page peel? Let's go. I said do it. There you go. Hi everyone, this video we're going to look at the status bar, which is the time and the battery and the Wi-Fi signal. Okay, we're going to add it to our template because at the moment it's getting bunched up here on the iPhone 16. So we'll add it so we've got a bit of space so we can avoid the letterbox, window, pill, I can't remember what it's called. But anyway, we want to avoid the camera that pokes out through the screen on most new phones. All right, let's jump in. It's called the status bar. All right, so let's do it together. I've done this for a little while, so let's figure it out. I'm gonna go to home, I'm gonna go to tools and templates, and I'm assuming I can type in iOS. It's called a status bar. Okay, I'm using iOS because I'm using the iPhone. You could use the Android status bar. Okay, and then the way I decide which one to use is, I don't know, to start looking at them, see which one, oh, that looks kind of good. It's got lots of likes, got lots of downloads. There's probably more, don't care enough. Okay, I'm gonna grab one, open it, see if I can grab an iOS 7. So let's have a look, status bar. There it is there. So I'm gonna say, actually these look like parts of the status bar. Let's have a look. Oh, okay, they got lots of options. We're gonna go for just the basic one. Are we doing on dark or on light? We need the dark one, right? So I'm gonna copy this, I'm gonna go over here, and I'm gonna say, let's do it to the home page. Let's go home page, go back to design. Okay, and I'm going to go to, first of all, I know I'm going to have to move all this down. You don't have to add the status bar. That's the first thing here, is that your developer's not going to want it, but when you're previewing it, it can be a bit weird not having it, right? So here we go. I'm basing it up the top there. Perfect. Doesn't quite fit. That's probably going to do it. Let's go to our preview and let's make sure that we've got, let's have a look. It's up there. We're going to switch the phones. So let's go back. Let's go to prototype. Let's go in here and go back to iPhone 16, which is all the way at the top there. And now let's preview it. Better. Okay, because it's put in the, what do they call this? The pill? No, the letterbox, the door? Oh, I can't remember. But now we've got our nav in here. What tends to happen, especially for mobile web, is you don't need it because the browser ends up pushing it down anyway, and there's a bit of browser Chrome up the top. But for our template, I think it's good. We worked it out together. Okay, the one thing we might do is, oh, do I want it? I really don't want it. What we might do is select it and go to design and maybe just give it a fill color. Okay, just so that when we're designing, we can kind of work around it. Can I drag it up? Oh, I can. It's nicely designed. The one thing though is when you start adding complex components from somebody else is it's going to bring along a few things. This thing here is an instance of a component, which you don't know what it is yet. So you just got to be careful. You're like, do I really need it? Could be. There's a dark mode option. Look, oh, light mode, dark mode. This is the stuff we're going to be able to build as well. The really interesting thing is that actually these icons are pulling from this document over here. There's a way of doing that in Figma. And I'll include it here in the course just because you'll end up doing it. You'll be like, oh, I want that. And you'll grab it from somebody else's and it will start pulling from other documents, which can be a little confusing. So what you can do is you can select it, you can right click it, and you can say, I would like to detach this instance, okay? And you can do the same for all of these. All these little diamonds are linking back to that original document. So I can go to you as well and go to detach instance. Now it's like just part of this document. Same with this one. This is a bit of a crude way of doing it, as in it would be great if you know what instances and components are, which you will do later, but I don't want to go too deep on that stuff now. Just want to throw things in here and just want to put a little bit of this in here so that if you are like jumping ahead and like, oh, I'm going to grab that, I'm going to grab that, and you end up with a little bit of problems, know that it's not you, it's just your current knowledge is not quite there yet. But don't worry, we'll get to that. So we've got that. Do I want it? I'm going to take it off, okay, for this course. You can do it. You're totally allowed to. Okay, but I'm going to take it off for the rest of this. We're keeping it easy, man. Here you go. And let's move on. Where did the line around my button go? Huh. Has it always been gone? It has. It's been annoying, hasn't it? I have no idea when that went away. All right, that is it. That is how to grab the status bar and kind of mess around with that so that you can get it to preview just a little bit better. All right, let's jump into the next video. Forget this video happened. I guess that's the moral of today's story. All right, next video.
Hello, this is the other side of my office. You're normally looking from that way, across this way. This is that way it looks like. It's my junk and my soundboards to try and make it sound nice. And it's nighttime, it's not kind of moody, it's just actually dark. It's about 11 o'clock at night and we're making courses for us. And in this video, we are going to be looking at something called Figma Mirror. What is it? It's a way of testing our, we're on the computer trying to design a phone website, a mobile first website, okay, or an app, okay? There's no point spending all your time on there. You need to be testing it on the device, that thing. Okay, so there is an app you can download from either the Android or the Mac App Store. You can tell I don't use it. But it's called Figma Mirror. They might be changing that name. Check in the comments if they have updated it, but it's called Figma Mirror.
All right, pause there for one sec. Hey, they've updated the Mirror app a tiny bit. Okay, so once you've installed it on your phone, okay, what you can do is, it used to just start automatically. Now what you need to do is click the mirroring button, which is in the bottom right. Just click on Mirror, and then here inside of Figma on your desktop, just click the page that you want to mirror. Okay, I'm gonna click on Homepage, and it'll appear in your phone. It's magic. Actually, you might have to click the Begin Mirroring button, but then it'll be magic. Back to the video.
You sign in with your Figma username and password, then somehow magically it just starts happening. You don't have to be on the same network. It's magic. And basically what happens is, can I show you here? I'll show you. Can you zoom in on that? You kind of can. Basically, if I click on different things here on my desktop, you can't see what I'm doing over here, but if I click on my details page, where is it? Details page, there it is. Click on my checkout. So it's kind of live updating. And even better, it's actually live interacting. So, will this work? Maybe. So click on my home button. What can you see? Home button. Home button's too small because I can barely click on it. And you can't see what I'm doing. Buy now button. Look at that. Okay. Purchases. What is it focusing on? Is it focusing on the right thing? Maybe. Fades. Oh, look how good this is. So I can actually work on it. And the big thing I'm going to show you is the buy now button's too small. The text, it looked fine on desktop, but it's teeny tiny in there. Okay, the purchase button looks all good when I go to buy now. How is this filming the cam? This is probably terrible, but hey, that purchase button feels good to me. I'm finding it very hard to click on the buttons along the nav as well. They just need to be, they don't need to be bigger. They need to be smaller with a bigger area around them. So a frame to make them bigger. Logo's too small. Text on the purchase page is good, the checkout page. And I do get stuck on the learn more page. I don't have any sort of like prototyping off the product details page. I forgot to add it. You probably saw it in the last video, but it's when you get to this kind of stage and you're like testing it on your own, you're like, oh, I forgot that bit, or that's way too small, or that's a hideous color. Okay, so actually that's probably pretty good. Let's do a live update because that's pretty cool. I'll adjust the zoom so we can do it a little bit better. You wait there, I'm gonna change the camera. All right, so probably should have done this at the beginning. Watch this, it live updates. I'm moving stuff around on my desktop, so you're looking at my laptop there, my phone over there. And yeah, you can just kind of work. So when I'm working, especially this initial stage, getting font sizes and stuff ready, I just kind of like, I don't have it propped up, I just have my phone lying down on the ground. But so you can see it, this is really handy now. I can go through and say, actually font size here, what do I want to do? It's a group, so I'm going to go into my group and I'm going to use up and down. Until I find something, what I'm looking at is I am keeping my eye out on my phone here. Okay, that's what I'm looking at. I'm like, is that an approachable size? What you'll find is pretty much always 16 is good. Okay, you can't see it because it's on this side of my desktop, but I've gone to 16 points. That generally is a no-brainer good one. Okay, can't wreck it. 15 if you're trying to be cool and fancy and trying to keep it small. But if you get down around the 12s and 13 points, it becomes quite a tricky thing to, it's fine for some things, but for a big old click now buy button, it feels a bit small. So I want to go through and let's make this a bit bigger. Move them across. Center them together. So just move there. I'm gonna have to do the same for the learn more button. It's hard doing it one-handed. I need my hands over here, but I don't want my hairy knuckles in the video. But you get the idea. You can make changes really quickly, be seeing what it looks like on a phone, okay? It's pretty much instantaneous. I don't know, I'm pretty amazed by how that works. So yes, if you're designing for tablet, have a tablet. If you're designing for desktop, it's a bit easier because you can just do it on your desktop. But mobile phone or an app, okay, or a mobile first website like we're doing, okay, desktop is part of our plan, but it's secondary. Most of our audience is going to be coming from paid ads, because I talked to the client about it. Those are the kind of conversations you talk about as well, like lead generation, where is it all coming from? It's coming from Facebook ads, it's all going to come from mobile phones. If it's coming from YouTube how-to videos, like a lot of my courses do, then it's desktop first. So, kind of questions you're going to get into as a UX designer. What do we design for first? All right, it is late and surprisingly hot with all these cameras and lights going. I am going to, let's make another video before we go to bed. All right, that is Figma Mirror and testing your prototype on your phone. See you in a bit.
It's class project time. Okay, we are going to prototype your mobile website and test it on your phone. So use the techniques that you've used already that we've learned over the last few videos to wire up all your buttons so that when you click the buttons, they jump to the right pages. Then download the Figma app. I think it's just listed now as Figma. You should find it. It has the mirror option. Okay, you'll find it on the Google Play and the App Store. That's what it's called. And test it. Okay, click the buttons, see if it works. If you, for some reason, can't make the app work, okay, the downloadable app, you can actually just go to figma.com/mirror, okay, and you can use that as well. You do that on your phone. It'll ask you to log in. It's kind of a workaround. So when you're in the app, log into it, test your design. What you're looking for is just make some light adjustments, like are the buttons clickable? Are they big enough? Is the text legible? One of the big things you might find, and the little bonus for this video, is that, let's say the shopping cart here, I haven't rigged up, it should be. Let's go to prototype. Let's go you, and that is clicked. You go to the checkout page. Okay, and the one thing that might happen is that this button's quite small, you know, it's hard to tap, or maybe close to the menu. So what you might learn through your prototyping is, I'm going to zoom in, okay, and I'm going to say, actually, this needs to be a little bit further away from this, so I can actually click it with my big finger. The other thing you can do is that, depending on how you've got your icon, you might have picked a different one, it might be working differently. So let's go through, let's go to design. Let's say I want the clickable area to be bigger, but not the actual icon inside. Okay, I want the icon to stay there, it's the right appropriate size, but I want the area that is active that I can click to be bigger. I've got the move tool, okay, and in this case, what's happening is it's scaling up everything inside. We're getting a little advanced here, but it's something you might want to do right now. We'll cover it properly later on, but let's double click to go inside of that frame. If you don't have a frame, I'll show you how to do that in a sec. Okay, so this stuff inside of my icon cart, okay, is set to scale. I can just set it to center, okay, where it says constraints. So that, if I click off, and click it back on the parent frame, you can see here, not the vector, the frame that's around the outside, and now look what happens. I can make it bigger, you know, the area around it bigger, but the icon stays the same. So there's more places for your finger to actually touch and click. If you don't have one, let's say I have an icon and it doesn't, I'm going to copy and paste that out. Okay, so let's say you have followed me earlier and you didn't have a frame, you just got the icon sitting there. What you can do is you can right click it and say frame selection. And now you're kind of at where I started. Okay, we're going to go inside, and by default, oh, gone too far inside. Let's go to the vector here. Oh. Okay, that's a good point. When I click enough, I get all the little icons. What I want to do really is have the frame selected, correct the vector, and then you'll get the, whether it's set to scale or center. Okay, so there you go. Little bonuses for people doing the class projects. You can make the frame bigger, but not the things inside. All right, test it out. And when you're finished, what I want you to do is I want you to take a photo of you, of the frame, of your, sorry. Take a photo of the phone, okay? Just to prove that you've done it, and upload the photo of your phone with the project on it, the wireframe, and upload it to the project section. I can imagine lots of people are like, I don't have a second phone, or a buddy, or a partner, or a kid, or somebody to take a photo of your phone. Okay, you can just upload a screenshot if you like. And once you've done it, what I want you to do is be excited. I don't know, I bet you probably have the same thing. When you get it going on your phone, there's some sort of like magic. Even me, like I've done a million of these. I'm like, when I see it on my phone and start working on it, okay, touching the buttons, I'm like, oh, it's real, it's alive, it's exciting. So I hope you feel that too. So get practicing, prototype it, make some adjustments. Maybe the fonts aren't the right size, maybe the buttons aren't clickable, and then upload it to the assignment section, project section even. All right, enjoy. I'll see you in the next video. Hello! Hey, it's time to learn how to do basic animation inside of Figma. Okay, we are going to get this arrow to animate in on our congratulations, your purchase is on its way page. Okay, animation is pretty interesting inside of Figma. It's a little quirky. We're going to learn something called Smart Animate. Let's jump on in. All right, first up, Shift 1. Just to get everything on the page, spacebar, click and drag. We are going to make two versions of this confirmation page. We're going to animate between them. So you can copy and paste it. I'm going to hold down my Option key on a Mac, Alt key on a PC, and drag it out. So I've got two copies of it. Okay, and what I want to do is we're going to animate this arrow. And what happens in Figma, it's kind of a little strange, right? Is that basically we're just going to animate between these two pages and something needs to be different. This arrow is going to be different. We're going to move it over here. Just move it a little bit to the left. And all we do is we say confirmation page. If I go to prototype, when this one's prototyped, when we play it and we get to the confirmation page, I want you to then go over here. We'll just leave all the defaults and we'll give it a test. Okay, so let's go to our little prototype. What are we on? Let's use present. Nope, not use present. Present's fine. Go away. I'm going to use a little version so we can all see it. So we're going to go to preview. Giant phone. Okay, so I'm going to go to the buy now page and I purchase and then it goes here. And if I click once, it moves. Kind of works. Okay, so what we need to do is add the magic. The magic in this case is if I click on confirmation page, okay, and I click on this transition between the two, instead of using instant, we're going to use the one we ignored before, Smart Animate. Okay, we're going to leave everything by default and give it the same preview. Let's close this down. I'm going to use Shift Enter to open up that little preview. It's not Shift Enter, Dan. It is Shift Space. Shift Space. Okay, I'm going to go to buy now, go to purchase, and click once. And it animated. How very unexciting. Okay, but we got it. We did it. Good work. Your first animation. Let's make it better. Actually, we're going to break it because I bet you're going to break yours. Now, one of the things I want to do is it didn't move in very fast. So I want it to kind of come off screen, right? So I'm going to move it over here. You can hold Shift. So it kind of comes across while you're dragging it in a straight line. Great, so it's over here. I'm going to preview from this confirmation page. If you click that one first, then hit Shift Spacebar, it'll start here rather than the home page. If you have nothing selected, it starts from that first frame. But if you have the name of the frame selected, it will start from wherever you have selected. Okay, let's click it once, and it didn't work. Kind of worked, right? I'm going to use my back arrow to go back one. Okay, just my arrow keys, or you can hit reset. I just use my left and right arrows to go forward and back. So back, click once, doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? Okay, this happens a lot. If things are fading in, it's broken. So first thing we're going to do is I'm going to click on the title up here, move it a bit closer. I'm going to hold Shift and grab both confirmation pages. Okay, and move them so we've got some space. It's really common just to keep the animations a little bit separate so you've got some room. This guy over here, what is he doing? If I put him there, okay, hold Shift, he's still not going to work. Why? Is because have a look at the layers. So I've got my confirmation page 1, 2, okay, and I'm on my layers page, okay, and I can see my layers panel over here. So file, mobile wireframe, you can see this confirmation page and this one, if I twirl them up and close them, this guy, line 13, is just hanging out by himself. He's not on any of these frames. So it's playing this page and ignoring this guy. And what it does is it goes, well, he's not here, but he appears here, so he just fades in. So what we need to do is make sure this is on this page. You can do it by dragging it, watch. You see now it's inside the confirmation page. Look, he's inside there. But if I drag it out, click it once, hold Shift, it pops out. What I can do is just force it in. Which page is it? Let's name these. Double click it, confirmation 1, confirmation 2, just so that I can know the difference between. I want it to be on confirmation page 1. So you, line 13, should be in there. It disappears. It's in there. It's just kind of like hidden because it's clipped into this page. Give it a go. I can kind of see it. Oh no, where it is there. Okay, so let's give it a preview. Click on this one, Shift Space. Let's click it. Oh, we did it. It animated in. We're geniuses. Okay, let's close that down. One of the things you can do is if you're doing animation that comes off the page is you can click on this confirmation page. And one of the perks of a frame over a group, okay, which is this page here, is over here. If I go to design, there's an option here. It says clip content. See this one here? I feel like we learned this earlier, did we? Can't remember. All right, it's been the weekend. So let's turn that off, and it means that you can actually see it. So you can go, actually, I want it to be a bit closer or a bit further away, or I want to change the stroke size or width. Okay, and when I preview it, you shift spacebar, click again. It still works the same. Okay, it's just not clipped off. Now it doesn't really matter how you publish this, whether it's clipped or not. Sometimes you want the clipping just to be off while you're working and then turn it back on when you kind of finish the project. Now another couple of things that might wreck if yours is still like fading in, you're like, it's still fading in, Dan, check that it's inside the right frame. So maybe name them, okay? The other thing that is important to know is that basically what it's doing is it's saying, all right, I got these two frames, and Dan decided to smart animate between the two. And what it is looking at all of the things in here. If anything moves, it will animate it, which is awesome. But it needs to know what it's talking about. Like, let's say I've got line 13 and I've got line 13 here. If somehow, for whatever reason, you've copied and pasted them and this one's line 14, it won't know what to do. It needs to be the same name. Okay, so 13 and 14 is not gonna work. Let's give it a go. It's gonna go click and it's gonna fade in. You're like, oh, fading. Fading means broken because it's like, all right, this thing just appears on this page. I'm just gonna like make it appear. Okay, so you just need to make sure that your names are the same. It doesn't matter what they're called as long as they're the same. If it's still not working, what you can do between your two frames is, let's say this one's not working. I'm like, I can't make it work, Dan, getting rid of it. What I can do is grab this version here, copy it, click on the frame title and paste it. And you'll see it's pasted line 13, and then animate it again. Make sure it doesn't leave the page, okay? It's a little hard one to see. Can you see if I twirl these up, line 13 has actually come off that page, so I need to drag it back in. We've learned that. Sometimes that can just solve your problem. Okay, let's give it a go. Click once. The next thing I want to do is this clicking once business. Obviously, people aren't going to click after they get to this page. So we're going to learn another animation technique. Okay, let's click on confirmation 1. Let's make sure I'm prototype. Okay, and what we're going to say is the moment it's on this interaction called tap, go to confirmation. In this case, it's going to confirmation 2. Okay, or you can click on this Y here. It doesn't matter. Okay, so we don't want it to be on tap. We want this other one. We want another one that says after a delay of how long, we'll just leave it as the default, then go to confirmation 2. It's not going to ask for permission. It's just going to wait for, can you know how many seconds that is? That's right, 0.8. Okay, let's go Shift plus, and now, you see it just went on its own. I'm going to use my arrow keys to go back to the home page. You can use left and right. I want to find the home page. Where are we? There we are. Let's go to buy now. Let's purchase it and wait. Oh, look at that. It did it on its own. Okay, that is called after delay. You can play around with the timing. Okay, we've got it at 0.8. We can make it 100 milliseconds. So it's basically, you can't put in 0. Can you not put in 0? Yeah, you have to put in 1 milliseconds. Okay, so we can instantly, after 1 millisecond, go. The other thing we might look at is, you can click and drag these, by the way, if they're in the way. Often they can end up like this. You just need to click and drag this top part of it to move it up. Let's look at our easing. Okay, so we kind of looked at easing. Let's do the one I like the most, which is ease in and out back. Got that kind of like little bounce to it. How fast should it be? Let's make it 1 second and give it a roll. Takes too long. Okay, so there is a lot of that kind of like changing the duration, Shift plus, just checking. Oh, far too fast. R for reset. That feels nice. Now, we've only done the movement. You can animate anything, okay? So as long as you don't change the name, you can animate anything. So let's click on confirmation 1, let's go back to design. Okay, you'll end up toggling between these two a lot. I don't want to get too heavy in the shortcuts, so if you're like, block it out if you're already full up. But if you're looking for the shortcuts, Shift E toggles between design and prototype. Design and prototype. You just hold Shift on both Mac and PC and just tap E and we'll toggle between them. Okay, so I want to be on design. Let's clip content so we can see this thing. And I'm going to say, let's change the transparency of the stroke so we can make it 0. So it fades in as it comes along. So Shift space. You see it kind of faded in. Can't really see, but it did. Oh, where are you now? All right, it's gone away. Line 13, there it is there. Let's turn the appearance back up to 100. Okay, we can decide on the triangle. Maybe the triangle is none to start with and grows a triangle. Let's give that a go. I'm going to move it just in a little bit so we can actually see the animations that we're messing with. Reset. Okay, I don't think you can grow that one. Yeah, it kind of grew. There you go. I just couldn't really see it. Can you see it kind of like appears? That's not that fun, Dan. Let's change the stroke weight. Try not to click on these. These are called variables. We'll look at them later on. See these little diamonds? They're in a lot of things. Okay, we'll do variables later on. They're pretty hardcore. Trying to avoid them. Let's give this a go. All right. For refresh, oh, giant arrow coming in. All right, so that is it. That's animation, the basics of animation in Figma. Okay, you have 2 frames, something different on both of them. As long as the 2 things appear on both frames, you can't have it not appear here. Okay, you can't delete it from this frame and just hope it appears over here. It will, but it'll just fade in. Okay, so you need 2 things, the same name on both, and need to make sure they're actually on the frames that you're animating between. So have a check of these layers here, close them all down. I find that's the easiest way to kind of see, is anything hanging out here that shouldn't be? Then just make a change between them. Okay, either movement or size or color or anything you like. And the big trick here is to switch to prototype, Shift-E, okay, or click the button up here and just make sure this page, okay, you click, hold and drag, okay, and you make sure it's animated between the 2 and you use Smart Animate. Okay, and it will smart animate them between them. If you accidentally have 2 interactions like I just did, okay, what you do is you click on the frame, you say, which one do I want, tap or delay? I want to get rid of this tap. Okay, I want my delay and move to this one here. All right, that is the basics of animation inside of Figma. It is a little clumsy. If you're from any other animation tool that has like a timeline, that's just the way it is in Figma. But we know now, it's a little clunky. We don't do a lot of animation in this kind of like wireframe stage, but it's fun and I want to introduce it earlier so we can do more complicated stuff later on. All right, that is it. Animation inside of Figma. All right, that was meant to be the end, and I record the intros at the end, and then I was recording the intro and mine was broken. I'm like, oh, what do I do? So I've come back to show you. So I'm going to preview from the checkout here, so Shift plus, and then I had this, and that big arrow appeared along. You're like, where did that come from? Anybody else have that problem when they're testing? The arrow kind of moves that way. What's happening? All right, and how do we fix it? So we have got an animation between the checkout and the confirmation page. Okay, so it's this little noodle here. Okay, so that button goes to here and it says on tap, I want you to slide in. Okay, and I'm using this in and out. So what it's doing is it's sliding this way. There's a little animation. So you see the whole page is sliding across. That thing there can be seen, okay, because I left the under design, Shift-E, okay, under design, I left clip contents off. If I turn it off now, it should work. Because I've left that out, even when I preview it, this can be seen. And because the animation between here and here, okay, is a slide, this whole unit, okay, slides across, okay, goes zhug, and we can see it on this transition. So there's 2 ways of getting rid of it. This one, where I say this page, I'm gonna clip it, so it's hidden. Let's see if that works. Pretty sure it works. Okay, it worked. The other thing we can do is, okay, is this here, when it is prototyping between the 2, instead of doing all of that slide in, we can just go instant. There's no visual between these 2. It just goes dink, and I'm already here. So that'll work as well, I hope. Okay, okay, either way, it's probably just easier to clip contents after you've finished working on it. You might have had that problem. I had that problem. Now we're going to do the end, okay? Final end. See you in the next video. Oh no, it's the end. It doesn't have to be though. Remember, this is just like the first chunk of the course. There's loads more to come in this course. So if you want to go further with UX design and Figma, there'll be a link in the description. You come join me for the full course. I hope you're feeling a little bit more like a UX designer. Remember, if you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe to the channel, and I hope I see you in the full course. Come join me.